Okie doke. Don't know why. I'm here with my good mate Murph, new buddy. Somebody I've admired from afar for about 6 months, 6 or 9 months now. And I never imagined it actually being a stream with him, or much less meeting up with him in Belfast as we did for a couple of beers there. What was it? A couple of months ago, was it, Murph?
Yeah, a couple of months
Yeah,
ago.
with yourself, your fellow.
Beck.
Your fellow Smick, yeah, Smick,
Yeah,
Beck
yeah.
the Smick, Beck the Smick.
Yeah.
That was good. That was interesting. You're probably worried about my paranoia, or was it me, or was it you guys? I didn't want to say out loud on the bus where I was meeting people.
Yeah.
coming,
I remember.
coming up on the bus from Dungannon, because you never know who might be sitting like 2 rows back. You know what?
Yeah.
Little
Especially in Belfast.
Antifa wannabe. So that was cool, and it was the most on Smick like setting, I guess.
It was a very nice setting actually. With
The jazz bar. Go on, you go ahead.
The jazz bar. No, when you left, me and Vic, we went on to Kelly Cellars. People,
From the Sublime to the
yeah. People from the north will know where, especially Belfast, will know where Kelly Cellars is. And well, I got Vic a pint or two, and then I stayed on and got absolutely hammered. He left, and I sat there until the very end. And then last thing I remember was listening to Brian Adams, Summer of '69, and then the next thing I woke up in my sofa. So that's how that night went.
How you got from Kelly Sellers to Murph, Murph's pad?
Yeah, remains a mystery.
Remains a mystery. Okay. Well, for those, do you want to let the listeners, darling listeners, I'm getting into the Smick. Don't let me get too far into the Smick FM way of going on, or that'll be the death of me. It literally will be the death of me. Bullet in the head. But do you want to let our lovely listeners know what Smick's all about, and what the history? If you don't want to talk about it, that's okay.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yes, me and my friend Beck, we had a podcast, Smick FM.
Links in the description.
Sorry?
I'm just saying to people that the link's in the description. Hi, Suzanne. By the way. Hi, Paul O'Neill. Hi, Conan Mack, if you're still with us. Hi, Time Arch up. Salatiums as well. They're stalking each other around. Sorry, Murph.
I was saying, do we have many in?
Oh, there's 5 so far. Yeah.
So we started.
There's Jake Howell. Sorry.
Smick FM in about September last year, September. We actually have just shut it down. Beck doesn't want to play ball anymore. So
there wasn't any graffiti written on the walls around the new lights.
No. We didn't have a follower.
Sorry. 1 wee second. I've got. I'm a terrible man. I keep interrupting you. Sorry. I had technical issues there. The stream was playing twice. Go on ahead. So the court is yours.
Yeah. So I'm looking for a new host at the minute, but I don't know. I'll try and entice Beck back, but who knows? But we haven't fallen out or anything. He was actually just messaging me about half an hour ago, so nothing like that. But his heart wasn't in it anymore, so I've got to find a new co-host. It just means I don't have to listen to his geopolitical rants for 4 hours before the podcast.
Oh, it's the 4 hours before, right? Yeah.
He's listening now, actually. So.
Oh, good man. Hi, Beck. How's it going, man?
I thought I just threw that in.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, he's a hard act to follow. I mean, it's a tough gig to take on, to come in after Beck. But sure, let's see. We live in a changing time, so yeah, let's see who takes that spot.
We had a very good vibe, me and Beck. But,
you sure did, yeah. It was very good. Yeah.
Everybody says that we bounce off each other very well, but
relaxed, sort of like best mate, good mates. Obviously known each other for a long time and talked about all sorts of shit and slagging. Slagging, as we say slagging, or as you guys say slagging slagging each
Slagging,
other
yeah.
off.
Well, me and him would just sit up for about 8 hours. You know, every day he'd come over to the house. We'd just sit there for about 8 hours, just talking about politics, life in general,
Uh-huh.
pizza, beer. So that's what we were doing when we were doing Smick FM. We were just having a few beers, whiskey sometimes, and having a pizza, 2 for 1 up in the local on a Monday night. So we always did it on the Monday night, so we got the free pizza. So yeah, well, all good things happen.
Give me one in the chat there if you've listened to a Smick podcast or even a bit of it. I want to see are people Smick virgins? Are you Smick virgins or what would you say what's an opposite of a virgin?
The opposite of a virgin.
So I'm starting to go down. I'm starting to go down the Smick route here. You're rubbing off. You're rubbing off on me. I'm trying to keep it clean. No, I don't think anybody. People haven't. What? Nobody's heard. Nobody in the chat. There's 7 in the chat, and I haven't had any ones. Ones if you've listened to Smick before, and 2 if you haven't. They're just being they're all anti-authoritarians. You know, they're just giving the 2 fingers up to any sign of authority.
Yeah,
the lockdown has got them sort of like, you know, has used up any what would you say biddability that they have. Somebody Karen says is shit. There you go. Yeah, that's the first comment. I don't know who Karen is. Maybe Karen shit as well. I don't know.
I'm sure he is.
There's 5 ones from Jay Cahill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay Cahill was a regular. Yeah. Not okay. So. Irreverent, how would I describe it? Just 2 lads from 2 Irish nationalists, old school Irish nationalists.
Yeah.
Correct me, you know, or tune in my description.
I would consider myself just a plain old Irish nationalist. Mick was sort of an oddball in that he was a Marxist and a devout Catholic and an Irish nationalist. So. Yeah, don't ask me what's going on in his head, but yeah, I would just simply describe myself as an Irish nationalist.
Yes. Well, you know, a very sort of like background between the 2 of you. If you were both had exactly the same worldview, it wouldn't have been as interesting because you could like bounce ideas off each other from different perspectives. Like he had the ex-Marxist viewpoint. But what I loved about it was like it was just totally unguarded. I wasn't sure if you were putting it on or you were being like purposefully what's the word, edgy for an audience, or is that just the way you guys carry on? I mean, after a while I thought, maybe that's the way these guys carry on. You know, that's the way I carry on. That's the way I am generally. No, but that was us. That was just us being the way we are with each other. We say things, throw out ideas, try and be provocative. Say things that create a bit of a stir, as we did with the No Vaseline episodes. So, yeah. That one, you got a sort of a national level hate plan.
Yeah.
Hate for that. Well, from when I say national, I'm talking about the National Party.
Yeah, the National Party.
I mean, I thought it was very. I mean, we were talking about this earlier on before you come on. How you got a lot of hate for that, but I didn't think it was justified because, like, at the end of the day, yourself had spent 3 years. You were absolutely dedicated. You spent a lot of money on. You spent a lot of your own money advertising, running advertising campaigns on Facebook, etc.
And for stuff, leaflets and things like that.
So nobody could have been more. Well, I mean, obviously, you know, there weren't that many people north of the border.
To begin with, yeah.
And you guys were the nucleus of the Belfast Common and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, you know, how you got your activists. I mean, this. Actually, I didn't call this activist voices, but I'd like to focus on activists, i.e., people who have talked to the public, who have put skin in the game on behalf of Irish nationalism, whether it's by broadcasting and getting their views out there, these are like, let's face it, like for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, these are very like normal, you know, to look after your own in-group's rights and not have them walked over or not be replaced. And now it's in the past 40 years, it seems to be heretical. Is that the right word? Is that the right way to say it?
Heretical.
To stand up for your own group. So I don't know how I got on that one. So it's dangerous. I mean, it's not like physically, well, it could be around Belfast, Right, and
Yeah, well, we did a leaflet.
all you
We actually
soft
did a
southern,
leaflet drop.
for all you soft southern Nancy's boys, no matter how dangerous you think it is to be attacked by a panty file around around
Yeah.
Dublin, South Dublin. You talk about the anti-file up here a wee bit more. They got guns and shit. So
Yeah.
you gotta I'm trying to say we're harder. We're more manly.
Yeah, we are.
We are.
I don't think that's it.
That's beyond question.
But you were talking about activism there.
Yes.
At the time, the only media access that the National Party got was a leaflet we put out, and it was criticised by Sinn Féin and all the rest of the alphabet Republican groups. It was in North Belfast calling for Irish homes for Irish people, and the North Belfast News bit at that. They bit.
Yeah.
The leaflet was intentionally drawn up because if you ask 90% or 95% or 100%, 95% of people in North Belfast will agree. Irish homes for Irish people, Irish jobs for Irish people. It's simply those in the media bubble, and those, and of course Sinn Féin, Jerry Kelly, Carney Cooline, who live in nice middle class areas now, who aren't in touch really with working class people. I mean, we seen what happened when Jerry Kelly came down to the New Lodge bonfire, and he was threatened and intimidated. The people there have no respect for him now. Because he moved out to the burbs. He's now a landlord. Jerry Kelly's
last August or just
last August. Yeah. Me and Beck were there, of course. me and Beck were there. We were the last two people to leave the bonfire at 5 o'clock in the morning. Breaking a harp underneath the Lodge flats. Yeah.
I think you went into this in one of the recent, one of the last podcasts, wasn't it?
Yeah. We talked about it. We talked about that in a few podcasts. That was a good night, aside from all the stabbing, which we didn't do. We didn't have a part to play in that.
This is a flavour of Smick, by the way. This is like a very soft, watered down flavour of what the sort of talk that happens in Smick FM. But I mean, I first discovered Smick. I don't know how. Maybe it was Niall actually. Okay, well. Maybe it was through a certain YouTuber from Donegal.
I don't think that.
It's we're just gonna. I don't know, but we're just gonna not talk about it now because you guys are good mates. So I think it was through that path that I became acquainted with yourselves, and I just love the humor and I love the laid back, and also he's very well read. And I started tuning in. And I found myself at turns laughing my guts out, because nobody in the movement is as unguarded, and also because of the Northern Ireland humor, the six counties,
sort of the black humor,
black humor that comes out, and nobody, everybody got a touch. Nobody was safe. It was like you were winding. You could, if you guys had ended up getting beaten up by hooded men, you wouldn't know which ones it could have been anybody. It could have been in one of 6 different factions on the other side of the sectarian divide. It could have been involved. I joke. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but that just like everybody got a touch basically, and it was good to normalize, just to normalize what should be a normal conversation, just like guys talking about the political situation, talking unguardedly, about their preferences and prejudices as well. But there was no hate. There was no like, it was banter. It was a lot of banter. And I was in my campaign. I was doing my campaign as an independent in Mid Ulster here, and it was fairly lonely. Sort of, I just moved to the area. I was brought up in Mid Ulster, brought up in Dungannon, so it was my area. I feel totally justified to be standing there. But I hadn't lived in the area for about 10 years, and moved back in again. I've just been in about a week, and going out doing my canvassing around the doors. Now, it wasn't that it got a bad reception or anything like that, not far from it. But it was a fairly lonely old thing because a lot of, the time I was going out between 4 o'clock and 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., a lot of people weren't at home. It was just freezing and dark. I would come in and then switch, make myself some tea and switch you guys on, and it would cheer me up. You know, it would like, okay, you're doing the right thing. Ground me again. You're doing the right thing. This is normal. This is like, there are other people out there who think the same thing. And I found it very useful, I have to say. So I have to say thanks to you and Beck for that. You know, it just
Murph. Well, Beck's listening. I don't know if he's.
No, to you, Murph and Beck.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't call you Beck. I know. Now I've met you in real life. I can tell one from the other.
And the better.
So the voice, there's a different timbre in the voice as well. Yeah. So let's see how the chat are doing. Anything? How's it going, chat? How's it going, lads and lassies? I got about 100. Somebody said timeout. I got you about 100 votes, Connor. Oh, thanks a million. Timeout. No. Yeah. Are you from Maharfelt or one of the boxes up around there, Mahara or Maharfelt? I got a lot of votes from up there. So thanks a million. Thanks for that. Send me an email. Get my email on the about page. It'd be good to make contact with you. I don't expect you to say who you are. If you want to say who you are now, that's cool. But much appreciated. Yeah, I got that's a seventh of the votes I got. So congratulations to that person. Thanks a million. Mid Ulster, okay. Yeah.
Are they bribing people?
I wish I'd money to bribe people. What's the name? Say cheaper back at 8 p.m. on Thursdays. Yeah. At the start, they're talking about the NHS thing there. Because Salarium's from Irish background, but living over in England, as far as I can understand. Banging for Suzanne saying banging for what is the NHS, the new religion of the NHS.
Yes.
The multicultural NHS. Mark Collette is interesting to say about that. Everybody watches the latest. Mark Collette does it. Sorry, I'll let you back in. Just get this out of the way quickly. I'm a terrible man. I just keep talking over the top of people. People are always saying that. Please get a listen to Mark Collette's latest take on it's his one and only take. He doesn't want to be talking about the COVID thing all the time, but it's about just less than an hour. He talks about the I'll just give you the takeaway is COVID, the whole COVID crisis is shows up the vulnerabilities and the complete unworkability of globalism, the globalized economy, and it gives us ample opportunity, critiques to demonstrate to the public how it doesn't work. From the fact, compare New Zealand with very, very few cases who closed their borders to non-citizens. First day compared with a similar-sized country, Ireland, who is now I think it was number 10th in the list of deaths per million. So we're good at something, in the first division for something anyway. Et cetera. You could go on and talk about the Keelings. You're aware of that, Murph, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I've seen the National Party's video on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I first heard about it.
Yeah. So there's like ample. The globalist system is falling apart. So all we have to do is sit tight, keep our head, practice our arguments, like make a list of and all this stuff is easily verifiable. It's in the statistics are there. It's in the news. So you mention this to Joe Public. The next chance we get to talk to Joe Public, Joe Public can go and easily verify with a quick Google search, and it's incontrovertible evidence there. And Mark Collette goes on to say, instead of just use the stuff that's there, the stuff that's easily verifiable, and that is, there's a perfect critique of globalism, and you can prepare, show that nationalism, economic nationalism, and social nationalism is a better way to cultural nationalism is a better way to proceed in the future, rather than going down these other lines of attack like 5G and trying to link 5G with the COVID, which the public, whether it's true or not, okay, let's face it, the public are going to look at you as if you've got like three heads and a green, and speaking Martian.
People that usually do talk about it do have three heads.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. So whether it's true or not, and there might be some grain of truth in some of these things, but it's totally unverifiable. It's prophecies. It's stuff that it's linking things together, and you're talking to the public, you get 2 minutes. You get 2 minutes to sort of like make an impression and give them an argument, a concrete argument that they can relate to. Bingo. Talk about New Zealand. Talk about compare the policy that was adopted in New Zealand, isolation, close the borders compared to Ireland, and the case differences, and talk about Keeling's fruit and the ridiculousness of bringing foreign workers in just to help out big business when there's like all these unemployed people, etc., etc., etc. The list is going to stack up. There's probably one every week, a story every week. Pull out of your arsenal. I'm talking too much. Like, over to you, man. Over to you.
So I just want to touch on that 5G thing for a second, because for the last week or so, my dad has been messaging me, sending me YouTube videos. Now, my dad is he's a gardener. He was a gardener for a long time. He's in his 50s now. But he's watching these videos, and I see it with a lot of people, other relatives as well. And they just believe anything they see on YouTube. Anything they see. Now, there's a healthy skepticism when you're watching the BBC or RTE or CNN or MSNBC. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everything you see on YouTube is correct or is factually correct, is scientific. Especially if it's someone in a studio with a green screen behind them, in his bedroom usually, and he's talking about 5G causing the COVID-19 crisis. You don't know who this man is. You don't know his credentials. You've seen a YouTube video, this 10-minute YouTube video, and now you're passing it around. Now, WhatsApp, I think they've limited the amount of shares you can do now, which is probably a good idea.
Video.
Yeah, which is probably a good idea. But I'm just saying this for my own personal reasons, because I've been getting these for the last 2 weeks about how 5G has caused the COVID-19 crisis and all of these other conspiracies. And there actually is conspiracies out there that are true. But because it does tend to be people on the right wing that we have a surplus of nutcases and conspiracy cranks. And they really do give us all a bad name. They really do.
Because, I mean, there might be some truth in what they're saying, but it's completely unexplainable and unsaleable to the general public. Whereas if you just go to your, like, cases that are, cases of, like those cases I talked about, like the comparison New Zealand to UK or Ireland, Keeling's fruit, etc., you can say those to Joe Public, and Joe Public will get it straight away. You don't, why add extra complication? Why? I mean, maybe the conspiracy cranks aren't thinking about Joe Public. They're just trying to convince you or whatever person they're in touch with. They're probably not in touch with a lot of people in their real day-to-day lives. And then that's why they're not thinking in terms of, they have no self-awareness in terms of how these ideas are perceived. And the amount of time it takes. I mean, okay, they've obviously spent a lot of time working on their knowledge and researching to get to this level of understanding.
Yeah,
or maybe
and are on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay. But I mean, like 5G, I've got a degree in physics, and even it took me about 2 weeks to read into it and come up with my own conclusions, which are that it's not a significant threat. It's certainly not the killing zone or the killing grid that people are talking about. Because it's got the same power as a Wi-Fi router, which is like probably got a 50th of the power of a microwave oven. So come on. I mean, anyway, we don't get into the details, but
I knew we'd end up talking about 5G.
Go on ahead.
I knew we'd end up talking about 5G.
Oh God. So,
but sorry. So for people on the right, and I do consider myself a man of the right, the simple argument to make is we should have closed the borders, like Israel, like New Zealand, like Iceland, plenty of other countries that did it. Germany closed their borders as well to human traffic anyway. They allowed goods and other services in, but they closed their borders to other European nationalities. Instead, you have these people going off on these madcap ideas about 5G, or it's the Bilderbergers or the Rothschilds, and
it's all.
It's all.
A lot of truth in it. probably the last two that you mentioned, the Bilderbergers and the Rothschilds, there's probably a lot of truth in that, but it's you can't prove it. It's not an automatic, easy 30-second proof. Sorry, I'm interrupting again. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's a form of cowardice, because you're sitting in your house in Limerick and ranting about the Bilderbergers and the Rothschilds. Really, who's going to come after you if you're ranting about the Bilderbergers and the Rothschilds? Nobody. If you start talking about immigration, then you'll start feeling the heat. But as long as you're ranting about someone on the other side of the world, this omnipotent power in the banking sector, nobody's going to touch you. A lot of people might actually agree with you just to placate you, but once you start talking about immigration, abortion, certain other topics, Islam, then you'll start to feel heat. So it's a form of cowardice.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, keep going there. Okay. Let me just bring this thing up. I wanted to just. This is a great wee tool. It shows. That's the Worldometers. You can. Okay, the best measure is this one: deaths per million population. Because, you got a massive country like China or the United States, and of course they're going to have more people die. But if you break it down per million, then you can you can combine countries on a like by like basis. So what I did yesterday when I was listening to a stream and wanted to make a few wee points, I ordered that by deaths per million, and then you go down through the list here, and then I took out the countries that have got less than 1 million people. That's San Marino and Andorra. So the first one is Belgium. Belgium is the country most affected. Then Spain, then Italy, France, and UK. So that's the top 5. And forget about St. Martin because it's tiny. Then we got Netherlands, Switzerland, Sweden, number 8. Luxembourg and Channel Islands less than 1 million. So USA 9 and Ireland 10. So if you look at those 10 countries I just mentioned, they're not counting the little ones. That is basically Western Europe. That is globalized economy, Western Europe, and they're the countries that have been hardest hit by this COVID-19 virus. So that says it all. I mean, that just shows the vulnerability of a globalized economy and the globalized system, and
global travel. And I noticed a lot of Well, I had immigrated. I think most people know this if they listen to Smick FM. I had immigrated to Canada, and then I came back because the whole of Canada shut down, and the job I was meant to get didn't materialize.
Hello? Did I just take you out?
Can you hear me now?
Sorry, mate. I meant to take the
right. That's
the spreadsheet out, but I took you out instead. So you were saying, I missed the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, so I had immigrated to Canada, but then I came back because the whole of Canada shut down, so I didn't have a job to go to or anything like that. So when I came back, I came in through Dublin, and there was no health and safety checks. There was literally nothing there. And still to this day, there is no testing being carried out. There is no screening for anybody. For anybody, I'm Irish, obviously, but even the foreigners coming in were coming in on the other planes. Asians probably coming from China. No screening whatsoever done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you came back from Canada a week or two after I came back from Georgia from a wee holiday through London out to Georgia, I think.
Yeah.
I came back at the start of March, and I actually passed through Italy. And in Georgia still has 3 deaths and 300 cases or something like that. It's piddling, right? And they closed the border straight away. And at Georgia, back at the start of March, this is 6 weeks ago, they tested me at the airport. They kept us waiting at the airport and gave me a wee, infrared scan. And this is they had 0 cases and 0 deaths back then. Took my details and wanted to know where I was staying and everything else, and held us up. And that was then going in through Italy. Obviously, by the time I was going back through Italy, the north of Italy had really kicked off, and I was passing through Bologna, which wasn't affected at that stage, so it was okay. But we still got tested. But at Gatwick, nothing. Belfast, not a thing. Nothing. And then look where the UK and Ireland are in the league table of countries that are affected. This is the sort of information. This is what we need to be preparing for. Getting these stories, going through these stories till they're dripping off the tongue, and going out and telling people. When I share this this information with people in my family, go, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I can. It's almost as if, okay, I see what you're on about now. I see, like, I thought it was all a bit weird before, but now I'm starting to see it, and they will see it. They will see it. Now, obviously, it's going to be easier to talk to people whenever the restrictions start easing, and the restrictions are easing off in some of the countries like Italy, Spain, and Austria. So we will eventually see the restrictions easing off a bit. Go on ahead, sorry, Murph.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier before we came on air about the COVID-19. That was actually meant to be one of the main topics, but I should have said this to you earlier. What will happen? We've both agreed that there will be an economic depression, or at least at the very least a recession. Once the lockdown lifts, and half the businesses we see in Omagh and Lisburn and Belfast and Cork and Derry and Donegal, a lot of them won't open. Half of them will probably open, but a quarter of them won't last. They won't last. They've missed 2 months of trade. Maybe even 3 months by the time the lockdown's lifted. Those businesses will eventually falter. And not only that, but at the end of all this, when people see that the amount of deaths, and Leo Varadkar said initially that there would be 80,000 deaths. I don't think we're going to hit 80,000 deaths in the Irish Republic. We'll probably hit about
yeah. Might end up about 2,000.
Yeah. So when people eventually twigged that we shut down the economy, that we drove hundreds of thousands of people into the dole office, hundreds of thousands of mortgages ruined, marriages ruined, because when you lose your mortgage in your house, usually you lose the wife and kids as well. That's the way it works. So, people, you have to look at the secondary effects of the lockdown. It's not just everybody losing their job. It's marriages falling apart because people are locked up with their partners for 2 months. Some people probably only seen their partners for 2 hours a day, and that was enough. Neither locked down from 24/7 with the wife and kids. I'm sure. Thank God, I'm up here with my mum, and that's hell enough. But these secondary effects, they're going to be astronomical, and people are going to be very pissed off that the economy was shut down, that their lives were turned upside down and destroyed over a virus which really isn't as deadly as the governments, all Western governments, have made out to be.
Now the big question is: did they know, or were they just are they playing the fool, or were they really, just lost at sea? That's the only thing that I would disagree with. Coming back to Mark Collette's analysis, he said that they knew rightly and did it on purpose to take out. They let it happen to take out that older generation for demographic reasons, and then played along with the two, and then milked it for the two. Maybe not Boris himself, but the NGO, elite banking government, Whitehall conglomerate, and that, I'm talking about UK, because obviously Mark Collette talks about, he's looking at things from a UK filter, that they let this happen on purpose because they could see there's an opportunity to do the NHS, to do the multiculturalism thing about the NHS, and then of course now this is happening in the UK as well. They're going to the crops in the field are going to be rescued by all these foreign workers coming in, and who are going to be the saviors, and they're going to be vaunted as the saviors. So not only did the foreigners save your life in the hospitals, the key workers, but now the savior, they fed you as well. So, well, okay, so obviously they'll milk that for those two aspects for all they can. But whether it was,
I don't think that was originally part of the plan. But I think
I agree with you. I wouldn't give them that much credit. I wouldn't give them that much credit. But certainly they take advantage of. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
No, I was initially of the opinion that they allowed the virus to spread because of the top-heavy population, just throughout the Western world. I was of that opinion as well. Then I came around to the opinion that this was really a geopolitical issue, that China and the growth of China as an economic and military threat, uh, it had frightened the West, and they've took this opportunity to shut down the economy, which essentially shuts down it shuts down China's economy. China's the workshop of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So their manufacturing base has been devastated by this. China's economy has shrank by 6% since December. Now that's obviously because they had the virus there in Wuhan initially.
Yeah.
But believe me, what is essentially, it's not an embargo at the moment, but I think it was Dominic Raab said yesterday that it will not be business as usual when the lockdown lifts. I think that's an indication as to why we've all been locked down. I think
was he talking in a general sense, or in terms of with China trade?
No, in terms of trade with China.
Yeah.
In terms of trade with China. So I think if you're looking at a reason as to why we've all been put in lockdown, I think the Chinese flu, or the Kung flu as Trump calls it, I think that has been used as an excuse, as a pretext, to launch what's essentially another Cold War, and try and crush the Chinese economy and its manufacturing base. What we'll see in the next couple of years, and we're already starting to see it now in America, is American companies relocating from China to the United States. Now, this doesn't mean there will be more jobs for everybody, because what they're doing now is just simply automating all the jobs. China was already losing out to countries like Vietnam, other countries in East Asia, and even Latin America in terms of manufacturing. So that was already on the decline. This is only going to accelerate that decline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm saying,
they're taking advantage for geopolitical. Trump is setting the stall out there as hostile to China. Hostile to the idea, or dubious, or what would you say? So skeptical, sino-skeptical for one of he's setting the stall out like China's gonna pay the consequences for this, and we more he's framing it in a nationalist way. That America needs to be more self-reliant and needs to take these essential services back for pharmaceuticals and PPE, personal protective gear and stuff like that. Yeah, as well as food.
America's
the whole hog.
America has enjoyed 30 years of being the only superpower in the world. Say 25 years, and then China's rise in the last number of years, I think will have concerned the United States, and it was one of the main reasons Trump got in. If you can remember, like how often he banged on about China during his presidential run, he touched on China far more than he touched on Iran, even during that presidential run. And I think you'll see that again coming up to the 2020 presidential elections. Let's talk about Iran. We'll talk about China again, and I think we'll see tariffs increase. At least in the United States, we'll see tariffs increase. I mean, the idea of a railway from China stretching throughout Europe, I think, is now dead. And that was one of the key.
The railway was that part of the Belt and Road scheme?
Yeah. What was it? Trans-Siberian Railway.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that idea will be dead now, because obviously the European powers aren't too happy with China and their cover up.
Mm-hmm.
So if essentially America takes a lead and Europe follows, and America and their geopolitical goal has always been to destroy the Trans-Siberian Railway project. Because that is America finished as a global superpower. China is able to simply transport all of their goods straight into Europe. In terms of economic output, they've already won, and it was one of America's chief aims to shut down the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yeah. Okay. So they'll really push it home now that they have this advantage. Well, I mean, it's not it's obviously it's difficult times for for all countries, but the rich will be okay, of course, and we'll take advantage of the opportunity to try and stuff China. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I hadn't actually heard that that analysis before, and it's an interesting analysis. I like it. It makes sense. It makes sense. So we'll have to wait and see.
I wouldn't want to be a member of the CCP in Beijing in 6 months' time.
You think there'll be blood? There'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Well, maybe not 6 months, but maybe not in 6 months, but in a couple of years. Remember, Central China has a poverty rate equivalent to sub-Saharan Africa. So it is really only the coastal cities in China where there is any sort of like first world living.
Right.
Beijing, places like this. So once that falls apart, and that will fall apart very soon, if there is some sort of Cold War, trade war launched, which will happen, you watch over the next couple of weeks. We've already had Dominic Raab, Foreign Secretary, say it's not business as usual. Trump has said it. We'll see more and more European leaders in the weeks ahead saying it, and there will be hell to pay for China.
There you go. So that's a consequence. Yeah. Well, the plus side of that is that it's going to lead to more economic nationalism. So we would be a little bit in Europe. Well, let's talk about. Well, obviously, Ireland has. We don't know what way Ireland's going to align itself with this. Make China. Well, okay, it's not so much about China, but relocate, take back industries. Let's hope that we join. We join the club and do the same sort of thing and start doing the same sort of thing. We'll certainly be, from our position, from our political analysis, that's what we've always said, and the likes of yourself and myself and the people watching, and the parties that we support. But whether the powers that be can be, well, of course they're, given their alliances to the European Union and to a globalized view of doing business and free trade. So go on ahead, Murph.
Yeah, I don't think the Irish businesses have a big trade manufacturing base in China, so I don't think we'll have any problems there. But there'll be a knock-on effect in that UK, America, and companies in, say, Germany and France, they will start relocating. Because and Poland as well, actually. A lot of these companies will start relocating back to their original homelands. But it isn't just that there. It's not just, it's the entire manufacturing chain coming back. It's not just the business headquarters. It's the manufacturing chain. It's everything. Mm-hmm. And there will be a deindustrialization of China over the next couple of years, and what that means for the Chinese people, and not only that, but I mean, if you're the Chinese government, you're essentially under attack. Now, of course, they've been ripping the West off, and especially the United States off, for the last 30 years since Nixon went to China. But essentially, this will be an economic war we are launching on China. And you just don't know where that will lead to in the future.
Where does that leave? Well, yeah, it's not really that relevant, but I'll just ask it in passing, because we've heard about China's economic colonization of Africa, or attempts to colonize Africa. Yeah. Where would that leave Africa? Or those attempts, or those bridgeheads that they've made?
I obviously you know a wee bit about this subject. Beck would actually be much better on this subject than me, because he seems to know an awful lot about Africa.
I say it's not centered. It's not like we're suddenly we've got our own people to think about. Never mind the Chinese or Africans. So it was just in passing.
No, it is important, because what China has essentially done in Africa is they have impoverished these nations. They've built them football stadiums and some nice roads, but added on a massive amount of interest that the governments have not been able to pay back on these loans. And they've impoverished places, Kenya, I think Zambia was one of them as well. I forget all these places that they've given out loans to, all these nations. But you can guarantee that that's had an effect on the ground for these people. And in a couple of years, these people will be coming. They'll be coming north. They'll be coming to Europe.
Mm-hmm. We need to get our act sorted out.
Yeah, and of course, China has military bases there now in Africa. So strategically, it makes Europe vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. We were talking. We were talking about the knock-on effects of. We were speculating earlier on. Taking it back closer to home to Ireland, of course, number one concern. But also, we're watching what's happening in the UK as well, because they use the same languages as us, and the services, the news services, etc., get beamed into us. We were talking about the big cities and the vulnerability of the big cities to a global turndown, and we were speculating as to whether there would be a breakdown of law and order.
Yes, I think I said Belfast and Northern Ireland in general would have no trouble in that regards. We have paramilitaries here. Maybe in Balbriggan there might be some trouble. I'm sure your listeners are well aware of what's happened in Balbriggan over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, it won't just be limited to multicultural areas, but of course it could be worse there because of the lack of cohesion, social cohesion, and
ethnic tension.
People will retreat back into their tribal sort of or their ethnic allegiances, for want of a better word. When the shit hits the fan, and if there's a shortage of food, and language groups or whatever, it's inevitable. This is what happens. This is what happens. Happens all over the world when empires start to fall apart. Yeah. Multicultural empires start to fall apart. Go on ahead.
I don't like all these doomsday scenarios. I've never been one for a doomsday scenario. That eventually the food will run out and everybody will start slaughtering each other and rape and pillage, and I don't see there being a shortage of food anytime soon. I actually spoke with the manager of Tesco's about 2 days after I got back.
Are you talking about in Ireland or in generally?
No, just
something that's something that concerns me, and I started planting spuds there about 2 weeks ago, just to be in this. It's I've no foresight, but just in changed times, in uncertain times like this, interesting times as the Chinese proverb calls them.
Yeah.
You can't call it. You don't know. You need to. You can't put your stock in anything. You have to have a plan B. You have to have an insurance policy. So I'm planting spuds.
A
big sack of rice here beside me, my 10-kilo bag of rice. Just see me through a couple of cold, hungry winter months. Just be on the safe side.
Yeah, I did my own prepping as well. I went out and bought like 50 tins of tuna and salmon and sardines and stuff. But it's just for precaution. But I'm 99.9% sure nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm. So give us your basis for that, because this is very important to know. This is what are you basing that on, or what information have you had or seen?
Well, I was speaking with the manager of Tesco's a few days after I get back, and I said to him, "Is there any chance that there will be a food shortage here?" And he said, "No, there's no chance that that'll happen. They have warehouses. I forget, one in Knockbreda, one in I can't remember what the other one was, but essentially in that warehouse at that very time, they had a 3-month supply of food." Mm-hmm. He says that he was saying that the food supply chain is still functioning. I've seen other supermarket bosses say the same thing. That is just not a possibility. Initially, when people ran out and started panic buying, they were saying stop panic buying, because then of course they have to ship more stuff in from the warehouses, and then it goes on down the distribution line. But there was no need for it. There was no need for that panic ban.
Turns out that there was no need. Yeah.
No,
it's interesting.
He said that what he says, and I've heard other supermarket bosses in the meantime saying the distribution line for the food is solid. That there is no danger that the distribution line will break down.
Mm-hmm. Some people, I mean, I've heard people people say statistics like 90% of the fruit and veg in Irish supermarkets comes from abroad, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. And then we end up exporting a lot of our fruit and veg, so it doesn't cross. That's the ridiculousness. You talk about climate change and carbon footprints. So think of the wasted energy and wasted time and wasted resources to export 90% of or a majority of your fruit and veg, and then import a majority of your fruit and veg that gets sold.
I mean,
obviously, like there's things like oranges that we can't grow and bananas, but that doesn't make up 90% of the fruit and veg, does it? Come on. I mean, what's going on there? What's all that about?
Yeah,
could not be changed. Could not be tweaked with somehow. I was going to come back to
maybe we should ask Keelings.
They're hiding under a ditch somewhere.
Yeah. From the National Party.
Yeah, rightly so. What I was going to say, I brought this up with the Dawn and Critique because they know, they do a lot of, they're researchers. They're like, especially the Dawn, is somebody I would go to who would have a chance of knowing the overview of these answers, and he was very reassuring about that, and he just came back to me let me see if I can find the actual. Well, it doesn't matter really. He just said, look, no, don't worry about it. The Irish food, and I think they're going to do a program about it in the future. He's probably beavering away through getting the sources ready to do, as he always does, a great fact-based and evidence-based presentation. Yeah. So I would take his word on it because he's been he's meticulous in his research, and this is just without it. He was clear that it was okay. He was clear that it wasn't an issue. So I'm just looking forward to seeing all the full facts and figures on that.
A couple of months back, when one of the Westminster MPs made a statement about she didn't actually say about starving the Irish or creating another famine. That was hyped up, but she did say something about blocking food exports to Ireland. She was I think it was Priti Patel. I think it might have been Priti Patel. But Simon Coveney.
Again, I got distracted by Marcus's comment. He must be joking. A man in Cushendall has bananas growing while he has grapes.
Yeah. It was in the context of Brexit.
Yes.
And the stubborn stance of the Southern Irish government. And
yes.
Yeah, and Priti Patel made a comment. Now, she didn't say about starving the Irish or another famine or anything like that. She just said about food exports going to Ireland, there may be some difficulty. But of course, the Irish media jumped on that. And Simon Coveney came out and said that, Simon Coveney, the Taoiseach, said that there was enough food in Ireland to feed 25 million. And I remember reading some material at the time and doing a bit of fact checking, and I think Coveney was right. There is enough food feed 25 million.
That was like 3-6 months ago. That was about November, December time, wasn't it?
Yeah, November, December. Right before the general election, yeah. Right before the general election, yeah.
Now, is that like food stockpiled, or is that like in the ground, or a mixture of the two?
Well, yeah, I was going to say a mixture of the two: the food stockpiled and what we produce ourselves through the farming and agricultural sector.
Oh yeah, what's in the fields and in the ground?
Yeah. So we have enough food to feed 25 million people on an island of
that's good. I mean, I was
7 million.
I was into I was doing other sorts of activism at that stage, like Facebook activism. So I wasn't following all these. The Brexit stuff was getting a bit boring at that stage, so I missed all that. So I mean, the research has been done recently. There's been a cycle of research into that, a cycle of. So that's probably where the Dawn was getting his figures from. He might have looked into it like yourself, at that, like you did at that stage. When it came up as a topic, when it came up as an issue, as a potential issue. Like that's what I love. Like guys like yourself. For all the Smick FM, the callous, what would you say, the irreverence, you're smart fellas, and you do your research, and you're very well read. I've always learned a little smidgets here and then, being entertained and educated at the same time. So I'm hoping that'll come back, man. It's a great service you provide, and also the just normalization of these conversations. So yeah, so where were we? Like, is there anything else we want to carry on? Let's look at this question from Tom Barry. How do you see
Okay.
there being the power to change what? Can you see that question there? That put up on the
How do you
screen?
see there being the power to change what big supermarkets have in terms of control? Probably beyond my pay grade. How do you see there?
I guess he's saying, like, do we? I mean, how would you
Mm.
control? How would you control the supermarkets? And that would be you'd have to have a national government and a strong
Yeah,
mandate. And
yeah.
once you have that, you can pretty much do once you have the mandate, and especially even more so in in a sovereign Ireland outside of the EU.
I was just going to say that as long as we're in the EU, we will have no controls.
Yeah.
We will not have any control on that.
It comes back to, and this is like it's not going to be it's going to be a gradual process. Both the main nationalist parties, agree on that, and both. I think they're much closer than they both let on to be in terms of their Eurosceptic policy. One's a so-called soft Euroscepticism and the other's a hard Euroscepticism. But both, talking to my friend Marcus in the chat there, he was realistic with me. He says, "Connor, it's a 10-year process for Ireland, to come out completely. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. Well, who knows? Maybe the game will change. We see this whole COVID thing putting the EU under immense pressure, and if there's a few more exits, like Ital exit or Frexit, that could seriously hamper it. And the thing, I've seen polls where people have been polled, do you see the EU still existing in 10 years' time? And I think the majority of Europeans said no.
Yeah,
have I got that right? Was it? What did you hear that poll? Did you hear any polls like that?
No, I didn't hear that poll.
Well, okay, so ignore
that
everything we
poll.
just said because I don't like to be giving out dodgy information. But certainly, I've heard a poll that expressed that there was the peoples of the European nations had a doubt that the European EU would be existing within a certain time frame, whether it was 10 or 15 years, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, go on ahead, Murph.
Yeah, no, I don't think Ireland will ever vote by plebiscite to come out of the European Union. The only way Ireland will come out of the European Union is when the European Union implodes. And it will implode. It just depends when. It could be in the next 10 years. I mean, if Beck was here now, Beck would say it would be in the next 10 years. I know his opinion. I can speak on his behalf on this. I think he's predicted that the next 10 years, or even less. Mm-hmm. He sees the implosion of the European Union.
It was already under pressure, under immense pressure before the COVID. What with Brexit happening, and they're going to lose a lot of their revenue from with the UK pulling out because it was an immense net contributor to was it 8 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
So go on ahead. I'm trouble, man.
It may not even work out as in that the European Union will implode, though, because remember before the United Nations we had the League of Nations. Now the League of Nations still does exist. It was simply
not become the United Nations, no, or it exists.
No. The League of Nations still exists. It has its offices in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in Switzerland still, or it did exist up until very recently. So the European Union could go the way of the League of Nations, and simply it just scuttle along until it becomes totally irrelevant, and it's replaced by something bigger, maybe some sort of an arrangement between Europe and the United States and other Western countries. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but something else could come along and replace it, or it could implode. But I think it's how to stay.
Yeah, Tom Barry. Then one of the consequences, or one of the things that we were talking about, what led us into that conversation, that speculation as to how long it would take and how it would happen. Tom Barry had been asking about the supermarkets, and I mean, with the sovereign government, you can. His question is, but pulling out of the EU isn't going to change the structure of power for the like of Tesco, etc. Well, this is.
But there is business.
You can like impose anti-monopoly. You can break up monopolies. You can. You don't have to go as far as nationalising food production, but there's things you can do in between. You can like I was thinking about this because a similar question came up about the fish production and how you would. You obviously want to stop. If we got our fishing rights back then, one of the things that you don't want to happen is like one. Like what happened with the beef barons, the fish barn. Let's say like 4 big producers, fish process. Like let's say we get our fishing stocks back, and the fish stocks, fish production goes up by 20-fold, right? So, we're suddenly it moves to be a significant part of our national revenue. GDP would be fish products, right? Fish exports, because obviously we far more than we can consume ourselves. But it wouldn't be a bad thing to get more fish in our diet, of course. But even with that, fish for breakfast, dinner, and tea, there's still going to be more, one would presume. Yeah. So one thing we'd have to watch out for is the same thing. A replication of what's happened in the beef industry, that 2 or 3 big producers get together and buy up all the smaller producers. So I was thinking like you could have like on a county or you could have limits for the size of the businesses based on the regions or the counties or something like that. So you're allowing the free market, the capitalist system to get things up and going, and allow people to hanker, to push things and have a decent standard of living. Get into the, make money basically. Let's not make money, but not to the extent that they would have a monopoly. So you'd have like 40 families or 40 businesses, or 30 businesses, or 20 businesses, 20 areas, and then they could be, so one business could monopolize one area, but they would be limited to that. So you'd have a maximum of 20 businesses. I mean, you could do all sorts of things with legislation.
It's actually very similar to what you're saying there. Is very similar to the American healthcare system, where you have monopolies in certain cities, in certain counties, districts, zones, states. That's actually what happens. Trump reversed that, actually.
And of course, a monopoly isn't ideal. You don't want you don't necessarily want a monopoly, but ideally you want like competition and the market to be working. But if one organization or one business does become dominant, then it's limited. It can't dominate the whole country. It can only dominate one particular area. It can't dominate at the national level and then drive prices down, or drive. It wouldn't be so much prices. It would be the prices paid to the fish, to the producers, to the fishermen. That would be the worry of a because that's what's happened with farmers, with the beef barons and the farmers too. You could do you could do things like there are precedents. That's what we're saying, Tom Barr. There are precedents, but it all depends on sovereignty. There are. So do you want to give us the example of the healthcare in the States, man?
Yeah. So the health insurance system in the United States now, up until I think it was a year or 2 ago, when Trump allowed for competition, because the insurance companies they are nationwide, but it did seem that like certain companies had honed in and monopolized certain cities, sectors, districts, locations, whatever you want to call them, states. And they were essentially able just to put the prices up, and there was some legislation there that sort of prohibited other insurance companies going in and challenging, essentially being the competition of the monopoly insurance company, and Trump did away with that. So what happened was that health insurance prices have fell, and they are falling still to this day, because of that legislation that he brought in.
Yeah, just give me what did the legislation do again? Give me one sentence.
So it smashed the monopolies that the insurance. So each insurance company had a monopoly on a certain region in the United States.
Yes,
that's how it essentially played out.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No. So, and then Trump introduced legislation that smashed those monopolies, and we've seen the price of healthcare, health insurance fall in the United States over the last. I think it was 2 years ago he brought that in. Yeah,
there would have been a time. Yeah, I mean, this is like interventionism. We have to admit that. There needs to be government intervention. You don't need to go as far as like states, nationalizing all the industries and states and command economies. There's like happy mediums where you can tweak, a bit of the best bits of capitalism and the best bits of like interventionism or statism,
and even socialism,
and even of course, I mean, like there is a lot. People often question, well, what are you going to do about this, that, and the about the social issues? Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There is a welfare state in Ireland. It's largely to a greater or lesser extent it works. So none of us are are coming from the old school libertarian, like just completely take that out. I think libertarianism is somebody recently was making the point that these national emergencies show that libertarianism up to be a nonsense way to run things, because if you leave people in an emergency, if you leave people to do whatever they want, then the selfish people will just take the piss and fuck it up, mess things up for example, if there was no enforcement for these regulations, if the regulations were purely advisory and you were free to do them or not do them, there'd be people having house parties all over Belfast and Dublin, and keeping spreading the virus. Now, whether you believe it or not, let's say it was something. Okay, I hate having to sort of like take it because I honestly believe that it's a real virus. So I hate having to sort of like include people who don't believe in it. I think at this stage most people do believe that it is a real virus and it's not a fake. But then it's to the extent to which it was manufactured or being driven. That's the question. Most people.
Well, my sister had
go down that rabbit hole. Go on, sorry.
My sister had the virus. I know.
Yeah,
I actually. Yeah, and a neighbour of mine has just died from the virus.
Sorry.
And he was tested and he confirmed he died last Tuesday. So, yeah, so the virus is real. Whether it was manufactured in a lab in Wuhan or in a wet market, who cares? We'll deal with that later. Mm-hmm. Again, and you're sitting in your flat in Cork or Kilkenny or Derry, and you're posting this stuff online. It's type as a manufacturer. Again, it's cowardice. It's cowardice. You're sitting talking about something that will never have any repercussions for you in real life.
Yeah.
But again, talk about immigration. Go or start talking about Islam. Mm-hmm. Talk about that publicly on your Facebook instead of talking about the Chinese and their fake flu.
Mm-hmm. And plus, it's something that immigration is something that people can see and people can relate to. And if you draw, it's easy to draw the connection between mass immigration and housing crisis and trolley crisis and pressure on the NHS and pressure on the housing stock. These are easy connections to make for people. And the fact that the media aren't making those connections is just criminal. But then there again, the complete traitor regime comms, as Garage Murphy calls them. Let me just. We're going to come on to some questions from there's some interesting questions coming through, but just
okay.
I think we hit 19, which I think is a record. 19 listeners a minute ago, which is a record for the stream. So well done, Murph. That's down to you, man. You're very popular. You're proven popular. So good to have you back on the air. So please, I'm going to do a big drive for likes and shares and subs. So please take a moment and get those likes and shares. I'm not trying to make any money out of this. This is to raise a platform for activists, basically, for activists like Murph and platform for voice. I mean, Murph is going to get Smick back up and running. Of course, that's a different thing. That's humor, and that's coming at it from a different angle as well, which is very, very, very fresh and very welcome. And if you haven't, it's a shame there isn't even one. Could you get Bic to allow you to just unfreeze one as a taster? Do you think?
You have a word with him anyway. I'll have a word with him.
I'm asking people to subscribe, but they're going to go to an empty channel. So if these new people that we're talking to today, maybe if you could maybe talk to him to just release one that he's happy to, one of the episodes that he's happy to have released. I don't know. Maybe he won't be able to do it, but it's that's for you guys to talk about.
Okay, I'll say to him he's not online right now. He's not online.
Yeah,
a message. But I do want to talk.
If he was, I'd say he wasn't, because we don't want to be putting pressure on the lad like that.
yeah,
that's not fair.
I was going to say once we'll do a few questions, and then I do want to talk about activism. Actually, I do, yes. And I've some funny stories as well. So
yes, sir.
I'll be sharing them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it. Okay, so sorry, we had a good question there from there's the McCarthy plan and good man. Tom, was it Tom Barry? Oh no, Celtic Crusader. Celtic Crusader. Where are you? What was your question, Celtic Crusader? How long ago was it? This chat is flying here. There's lots of good stuff coming through. Lots of intelligent stuff, which I like to see. It's good to surround yourself with people smarter than you are. I'll tell you that much. Can you remember? I put it up there. Oh, yeah, there it is. What is Murph's thoughts on the flash protest yesterday by Philip Dwyer and the MP lads?
Yeah, no.
You know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I've seen it. That's actually how I came across how I became aware of the Keelan scandal. Yeah, well, I support it, of course.
You keep going. I'm just going to stick the tip on him.
Okay. No, I support the flash protest, of course. I think Philip Dwyer seems like a really nice man, but I'm not a supporter. I was a member of the National Party. I was one of two people that ran the Common, the Northern Common. I have a lot of time for a lot of people in the National Party, and a lot of time for their ideas. But I mean, at least they get out and done something. That if I'm being nice, and I do want to be nice, and I do want to be generous, at least they get out and done something. They've been out, held up a banner. What that will accomplish in the long run, I don't know. At the same time, I was advocating this sort of thing while I was there, and it was very rarely done. But it's nice to see that they've actually took my advice on board and protested outside. I wanted to hold protests at one point outside, and again, flash protests outside halal factories. Like that would have created some that would have created some controversy. That would have created a lot of that would have made the media. They didn't want to do that at the time. But to Philip Dwyer and the two other lads that did that outside Keelan's, very well done. At least some people were out doing something.
Yeah, I mean, when the story first broke, I was shocked, and obviously it's a system failure, and then having been in business myself, I thought, well, if Keelan's are a little, it's if the loophole is there and you're a small business, do you really want to come down hard on them? Of course, they're not being ideal. Their behavior isn't ideal. And I sort of see things from the businessman's point of view as well. However, then you learn a little bit more about Keelings and they weren't like me they weren't like on my scale of businessman. I was like just piddling around, like employed 5 people, 200,000 turnover, something like that. And they're like, much way big scale. So then I've less sympathy for the small SME. It's not exactly SME level, so different story altogether. Yeah. So I think fair enough. I think that was a fair enough move to go after them. But it is a system. It's not. We have to remember. It's like the what you call it, the migrants, the asylum seekers. We don't have an issue with them. It's the system that's moving them like pawns and putting them in on top of us, or the mass immigration. It's not it's a system that allows for that. It's this neoliberal system that doesn't look after the indigenous peoples of these islands.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. I know nobody's really interested in my take anyway. They're all here for you, Murph. Let's get another few questions. Or comments. If UK and Ireland get back control of our waters, there will be war in Europe. I hope not. That wouldn't be good to see.
Well, Ireland will not be going to war with anybody with their military.
With the one wee toy ship, yeah.
Yeah.
Or how many we've got? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good man, J. Cal. Yeah, keep her up. Give us a few likes and whatnot. Give us a bit of power, thanks. What does Marcus say? The key is that free trade does not exist in the EU. Try buying a car in Armagh and register it into Dock. While on the cross my land and put it in my uncle's and carry it across. So for certain goods, yes, but for the expensive goods, the goods that matter,
Yeah.
The goods that have their own taxation regime that is slightly different in each.
Another monopoly.
Yeah. How would you stop trade across any of the restricted areas? This guy Tom Barry is good. He's put it up to us.
Regional areas.
Bit of a
No, I just want to say
devil's advocate, or maybe he's just the devil. I don't know.
No, that's fine.
We can.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
I'm not advocating for monopolies in regions like the American healthcare system. I think it was you floated that idea. I don't think you were endorsing that idea, but you floated that idea.
Well, to have a limit in geographic areas, to have a limit, that you couldn't. Yeah. You couldn't break. You couldn't own businesses, shares in businesses, fisheries businesses, for example, outside of your area that you start in, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd have different owners, and the worst monopoly situation you could get to would be there'd be one monopoly in each of the areas to avoid the situation where you'd have like 2 or 3 big processors, and then they could have a cabal, what's it called, the beef cartel, like a fisheries cartel to drive down to hammer the fishermen, the primary producers.
Yeah.
So he's saying, how would you stop trade across any of the restricted areas? Are you talking about the restricted areas in Ireland? Those like regions? Well, there wouldn't be trade between them. There wouldn't be trade between them anyway, but they wouldn't need to, because they're at the same level. They're like the secondary, the primary producers, and then they deliver the fish, and then these would be the packers and the processors, for example. So the analogy would be the beef cartels. So the beef cartels, you would ban. Well, I don't know the details, but it can all be an expert in economics who wasn't ideologically wedded to libertarian neoliberal free markets would be able to work this out. Would be able to put it's all possible with sovereignty. You can do all this stuff.
If you wanted an expert in beef, you should have brought on Big Now.
Yeah.
Okay, he knows all about it.
He's more lamb.
Yeah, he's more lamb actually, but he knows a lot about the farming sector.
He's welcome anytime he wants. Even though he keeps banning me because I was telling the chat not to be going on about a certain tribe all the time. But anyway, it seems to be.
I'll pass on the message. Tell me he's welcome in your stream.
Agree with their analysis or anything like that, just because it's bad optics. But I think that they thought there was something else behind that. But anyway, people are very. Yeah, I think we all get to know each other a little bit better these days. So he's more than welcome.
Let's hope.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll pass on the message.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I just seen a new question.
Was it that one? No, that's not. Go on ahead.
No.
Do you read it?
It's one of his. I actually was looking into this. I have actually some savings, and I was actually looking into buying land. So it's just coincidental that came up. Money and pensions will disappear for most when they get to retirement age. That's very true. A lot of people that have been putting money into their pension savings will never see that money ever again. Just look what happened in, where was it, Cyprus in Greece during the 2008 collapse. Those people couldn't even withdraw their own money from their bank accounts. So, and eventually it will happen here. No, but he asked another question. What does Murph think about people calling for us to impose restrictions on China, or for the US to impose restrictions on China? Does he think the US...
Let me just find the question. Was that who was the question from?
Solitum's, the same person you have up on screen. It's actually that
further on down.
It's just a wee bit. It's a wee bit further on down. Yeah.
A wee bit further on down.
It's at 5:59.
Oh, it's
5:49. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, jeepers, they're flying, these boys. These chatters. Is that it there? Yeah.
So does he think that the US has the balls to do that? Yes, they do, and they must do it. They have no other choice. They have to.
They have to for themselves, They have.
It's not an
ideological call. It's a national.
Yeah, it's a purely.
That's a survival of the national economy. They have to get that. They have to get that stuff back.
Yeah, as I said earlier, America for the last 25, 30 years has been the dominant superpower in the world. Now China's on the rise, and as well as other countries, but China is the main threat militarily, economically, geopolitically as well. A lot of soft power, as you mentioned earlier as well. They've brought up a lot of resources, governments essentially in Africa. It is the emerging superpower, and before it reaches that status, that level of the United States has to, and Europe as well, because it is America's lackey to some extent. They don't always agree, but it will go along with the United States. It will go along with the United States on this. No, I mean the Chinese consider Europe a peninsula of Asia, so I think they sort of see us within their domain. I don't know if I'd rather live under Americans or the Chinese. I'm still thinking about that one, but a communist or a liberal. I think I'd prefer a communist, but I don't know if I'd rather a Chinese communist.
Well, let's hope that we can have a good block of solid nations in Europe that are capable of. Nobody ever says like just because we're against the EU doesn't mean we're EU skeptics. There's nothing wrong with like national coordination. You know, nations form blocks for specific jobs, like military strategic roles and things like that. Of course.
I just want to say something. I'm opposed to the European Union. I'm not opposed to a European Union.
The European Union is current, guys. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's we don't want to be. We're not for misgendering people here, so it's just. So that I sort of knew that anyway. Right. Remember what happened? Caused the 2008 economic depression, EU deregulation of financial markets.
No. That's not what happened. What caused the 2008 economic depression was the collapse of Lehman Brothers in the United States. And why was that caused? That was caused by the Bush administration demanding lower interest rates on mortgages for homes for ethnic minorities. That's why the 2008 economic collapse occurred. Because Lehman
I think you're
Brothers
both right, because that was allowed to happen because of deregulation. Oh no, it wasn't it wasn't the EU. Okay, of course, there wasn't the EU deregulation. That was like subprime loans was happening in the States. Yeah, of course.
Subprime loans in the United States.
There was a lack of regulation, a complete lack of regulation there.
It was a lack of regulation, but the Bush administration, the Bush administration found that ethnic minorities, mainly African Americans and Latinos, were underrepresented in terms of home ownership. So, what the Bush administration demanded of certain banks was the lowering of interest rates for mortgages for ethnic minorities. And of course,
I knew about the lower interest rates and all the rest. But you see, the stuff that's put out there, like The Big Short. What's it called? That Hollywood movie that movie, it wasn't Hollywood, but an independent, but still it was like.
Is it Michael Moore?
The Big Short? It was called. It was a dramatization. Was it called The Big Short? It was a dramatization of.
I know what you're talking about.
But there was nothing mentioned about this ethnic minority. Because obviously, if they did, then that would be like liberal policy. Bing, bing, bing. At the heart of all this disaster. Liberal policy. Of course, they wouldn't hang the blame on a liberal policy now, would they? So that wasn't mentioned. And this is the first time I've heard that it was a liberal, some sort of like equality policy that had led to the subprime mortgages. So that's interesting. Sorry, go on ahead.
I get the point that obviously there was already flaws within sort of our own economic system, European and global economic system, but that just accelerated the decline once Lehman Brothers collapsed.
Mm-hmm. Hi, McCarthy Plan. Good to have you. Yeah. So okay, let's take a Marcus has come back to you. Remember that? Oh no, that was the same one. Okay, got a few to get through here. Russia will back China.
Yeah, I just want to point out, as someone said there about Russia, I just want to point out that the average age of a Russian male is 58. Those people will not be in a position to fight in a couple of years with their demographic decline. And
really? I didn't realize Russia was so top heavy.
No. No, it's not that it's top heavy. It's
Uh-huh.
it's the poor health of the Russian population. Not only that, but their military is
58.
is
You said the average age is 58, or the average death age of death.
the average age
Life
of
expectancy.
death for a male in Russia is 58.
Ah, life expectancy. Yeah. Okay.
Life expectancy, yeah, yeah. Not only that, but I mean, Russia is not a economic power. Russia's a military power, but even in comparison to the United States, I mean, I think even Vladimir Putin said this. I mean, it would be suicide to go to war with the United States. It would be suicide for Russia to go to war with the United States. They're a military power in comparison to every other country on earth except for China, America, Turkey,
Turkey.
India. Yeah, Turkey has a massive military.
Okay, so give us the top 5. Rank them. United States, China, who's next,
India, Turkey,
and then Russia.
and then I think Russia.
Maybe Iran.
No, I think in terms of manpower, I think Russia has more, but in terms of weaponry as well. But the thing with Turkey is they have conscription, 2-year conscription, and they do have and Turkey does have nuclear weapons. They are owned by the Americans, but there is nuclear weapons in Turkey.
Right. There must be some measure of measuring. I'm sure there's like websites, and even people have done this professionally. They've like sat down, and I'm sure like governments do this as well. They sit down and draw. Okay, weight, take manpower and weight it so much, and take the number of weapons, and then build up a mathematical model. And you crunch a formula, and then at the bottom you've got like on your spreadsheet it says like Russia has United States has 10,000 points, China has 5,800 points, etc., etc., etc. What do those? So forgetting about manpower, forgetting about weapons, but do you know what I mean? Like some sort of like
I'm sure there's I'm sure there's a room in the Pentagon just totally dedicated to that, just full of number crunchers and spacky weirdos doing mathematics all day.
And they would come out with the same sort of ranking, would they?
Yeah. I think that is. I think the largest military on earth in terms of manpower is China, then followed by the United States, then India, then Russia, then Turkey. It's those 5. I'm not too sure if that's the correct order, but it's something. And don't leave the RA out. Someone said don't leave the IRA out.
In the old days.
Yeah.
Some said China. You stop me on anything there that you want to like come back on? That you want to like pause me on?
Oh yeah, so I just wanted to say this about Russia, and then maybe we can talk about activism. Russia's population again, much like the rest of Europe, has changed dramatically. I think the last time I checked that the Muslim population in their military was 25%.
In Russia.
In Russia.
Right.
Yeah, in Russia. The Russian population is declining.
What's the Muslim population in Russia as a whole? Probably about 5%. You could
Yeah. It would be. I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but you have a lot of people coming in from Kazakhstan and places like that.
Yes.
They're coming in to work mainly in the building sector. Into places like Moscow. I think there is a video on YouTube where you can see. I think they're praying in Red Square, and there must be hundreds of thousands of Muslims praying in Red Square. It's frightening, and I think by 2050, there is projected to be a Muslim majority in Moscow. I'll have to look that up. I think there's projected to be a Muslim majority in Moscow by 2050, and the rest of Russia will soon follow after that.
These are statistics we don't hear about at all. That's scary. It's scary. I mean, it's scary because it's we're concerned here in European nations for European peoples, and that's not the way things are going. And that's without that's with. I'm going to make a comment. Maybe it's a comment made in ignorance. I was going to say that's without neoliberalism in Russia, and this. But then, of course, the Russian, some of the Russian territories like Chechnya are largely Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was just going to say, someone said there, that surprised me to hear that about Turkey. Again, Turkey has its own internal problems. Again, this is a projection by 2040 that it is projected to have a majority Kurdish majority.
In Turkey?
In Turkey itself.
Yeah.
In Turkey itself. So they have their own internal problems. And I think that is why they wanted to clear out that region in Syria to push the Kurds back, not only to push the Syrians back in, but to push the Kurds back in as well.
Sorry, what I got the second part of it, to push the Kurds back in, but what was the mechanism?
So there was a recent invasion of Syria by Turkey.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the Syria war, basically. The Syrian war.
No, this is just about 4 months ago.
Oh,
Turkey,
right, okay.
Turkey invaded Syria about 4 months ago, 3 months ago. And then they pulled back. The United States brokered a deal, or Russia helped broker a deal there. But that was essentially to create a corridor back into Syria for their excess Kurdish population there, especially a lot of the Kurds that came over to Turkey because of the Syrian civil war.
Yeah, and these were the people that were being confused with the people at the Greek border, like the mainstream media was in London was saying, "Oh, this is a result of the Turkish action in Syria," but it was the people that were up at the Greek border had nothing to do with those people.
Yeah,
a Syrian friend wrote to me on Facebook and explained all this to me at the time. He says, "Right, your press are lying. This is like he's a friend of mine. He's a Syrian guy. He's an English teacher. Lives in England. He says, look, your press is lying to you. They're telling you, they're trying to say that these guys up at the Greek border are the result. They're laying the standard stuff, laying the guilt trip on, but they're not. They're people that have been living in Istanbul for years. The Syrians are trapped. They can't get out of that part of Idris or something like that, isn't it called?
Idlib. Yeah.
See, you can help me tie all these wee pockets of knowledge that I've got from here, there, and everywhere together. That's cool.
If you remember Alan Kurdi, he was the dead boy on the beach.
Yeah.
Washed up on the beach, and that image went global all around the world. Now, they were in, I don't think it was in Turkey. I don't know if it was in Istanbul, but they were living in Turkey for a year. And his dad wanted to get to Europe to get free dental treatment. So he decided to put he decided to put his family on a rubber dinghy and try and make it to, I think it was Greece.
Yeah.
And of course, the rubber dinghy capsized or whatever boat capsized, and he lost his entire family. But I mean that information's out there. He done an interview where he talked about wanting to go to Europe to get his teeth fixed. It's well known. There's documentation to prove it. He was there. He has said it himself. He was in Turkey for a year. He had refugee status in Turkey. He was not fleeing a war in Syria when his son washed up on the shores of Greece.
It's totally reckless to take his children with him as well, like that. Did he survive? Did you say the father?
He survived. Yeah, he survived. Yeah, he survived. Oh, his wife died. His kids died. Everybody died.
I mean, I got sucked into. I was way stuck in. I was like believing all this, eating all this stuff up at the time. I've only sort of like come around to this way of thinking this past couple of years through the centre. I just fell for all that as well. I'm just disgusted. It's just opened my eyes to the lying and the twisting goes on. It's when you see for yourself that you were actually part, that you believed this stuff at the time. I remember putting up a Facebook post. There was a Facebook post going around saying, in 2015, anybody who would say it showed like a bombed out Damascus that just like looked like Germany after Dresden with like 1/10 of the building, of the parts of the building standing and just rubble down everywhere. Oh, you must be heartless if you wouldn't take these people in. I said, I'll share that. I'll reshare that. Now, to have your eyes slowly, opened over. It's been a process, and we're doing good work. And I also like saying we're doing good work to keep, we get a lot of hate, and we get kickback from our own families and friends and whatnot. But we just have to stick with it. There, you have to stick with the truth, guys. And stick with them.
I remember when I started slowly to wean myself off mainstream media, and it was in the aftermath of the whole Jimmy Savile thing, and a lot of these celebrities were being accused of rape, sexual assault, touching women on the arse 20 years ago in an office somewhere, and it was the guy. I think it was Bill Roach. I'm assuming you don't watch Coronation Street, but Bill Roach, he plays Ken in Coronation Street.
Yeah, I remember, Bill.
Yeah. And I just remember going into the shop, because I went to the shop every day before I went to work, and I seen the newspapers every day, and it was the monster Bill Roach, because it's during his court case, and they were all of the sensational headlines, and then when he was found innocent, the whole narrative shifted, and he was a lovely man. And the journalists who were reporting all of this, because I picked up the papers and I was going through the papers and I was reading them, and they were saying it was clear. I remembered someone saying, and I can't remember which paper said, it was clear to anybody that sat there that knew this woman was lying. And it was that journalist, I remember, because he had said things over the last number of days and weeks about Bill Roach. And I just remember thinking to myself, for the last 2 weeks, the only information that I got from that courtroom was that Bill Roach was a monster. He was a rapist. There was no way he was getting off of it. And then, voila, he's innocent. Yeah. And he's being praised at high heavens by the mainstream media. I'm sure he is innocent. I'm sure the court found him innocent. I'm not trying to make the point of whether he was innocent or not. But I was just talking about how the media were able just to smear this man, and then all of a sudden,
if there's outrage, like it's like outrage clicks, or in the pre-click version, the pre-digital version was like just like go full outrage, full retard and outrage, and then the next day full, whenever he's found guilty, then full retard in terms of like compassion.
It sort of hit home for me. It hits a nerve, because I studied journalism. I did want to be a journalist. Mm-hmm. And to see people in a profession that you had studied for and always wanted to be in, behaving like that, and that was about, I can't remember what year that was, but I was already I was on the right path anyway. I've always been a nationalist or an ethno-nationalist, or even when I was a Marxist, I was a nationalist, or socialist. I was an ethno-nationalist. I've always been that way inclined, but that really made me take up. It was one of those things in my life where I remember it's like it was a turning point in my life. It was when I essentially turned off the mainstream media. That was it. It wasn't Saddam's nuclear weapons or anything like that. It was a rape case involving a celebrity. Yeah.
We all have our, this is interesting. This is interesting for people, because people can listen to you and relate to that, because we all have our story of how we came over. Most of us came over from the center, from the left. I still consider, I did the, what do you call that thing? Your political position, or I can't remember the name, but it gives you you answer about 50 questions, and it tells you where you stand in terms of statist versus libertarian and left.
It's the grid. It's the grid.
Yeah. Political diagnosis or whatever. It sounds like a disease. Well, we do suffer from a disease, don't we? Bloody crazy about politics. It's the only way to be these days, because the politics is personal. You have to be interested in it, because it's dominating every aspect of our life. Now, people can't see that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, there was a comment that Vince had said there. Oh, by the way, you're doing great. Like, you've got us up to from this podcast, this channel. We had a record live views there, 21, about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and that's down to you, man. So thanks a million. You're
no problem.
Fantastic. I mean, people are used to hearing you in the lighthearted sort of like sort of like context, but it's just I know you from our chats and all the rest of it. There's just like well-read, intelligent, solid nationalist side to you as well. So
yeah, Beck's usually doing
more of this, to do more of this sort of stuff. You're very popular.
Beck's usually the one that's more on the facts and talking about politics. I'm the one making stupid jokes and talking about women and boobs and beer. But
Don't stop that. Don't stop that, any of that stuff either.
Yeah. No, I won't be.
Good man. Vince had said, Vince, if you're still here, Vince is down in Cork. We need this podcast in each province to connect patriots around the country. Okay, Vince, I nominate you to set one up in Cork. I'll show you the ropes. We'll start it off together, and then once you're up and running, you take it over and run with it. You up for it? We've got one. Cal, you met Cal. Cal's doing one.
Yeah, I met Cal. Yeah.
Drogheda. We need to normalize these conversations and give the activists a voice. And every time one of you guys, somebody new, a new face unmasks itself, an Antifa wets the bed that night. Crops in their pants that night because they're going, oh fucking, this is, or a regime journalist, gets no sleep that night because this is exactly what they don't want to see. This is, this movement of nationalists, the reasonable people making reasonable, rational, evidence-based conclusions and putting forward plans for the future that would save the, defend the Irish people and ensure the perpetuation, if that word exists, of the Irish people. This is what they hate. They love to see us. They love to see us in the bunker, hiding our faces, ashamed. So please get out there, unmask yourself. Certain YouTuber up in Donegal, I give credit where credit's due, and I criticize where it's due. But I have to say, his latest. You could agree with the need, you could agree or disagree with the need for it or the efficiency of driving around the country delivering food, but at least he's bringing people together. He's getting people off the sofas and doing something. And also those people are finding their voices and standing up and appearing on the camera, taking wee videos of themselves, sending them into that. And proudly standing there, taking part in the movement. And some of them masks on, and even you've mentioned yourself, Murph, that some even have gone unmasked.
Yeah,
that's great to see. So every time that happens, that's like that's Mark Ty or Sorka Pollock wets the bed or doesn't sleep that night. So keep it up. Yeah. So Vince, we're in touch anyway, aren't we, Vince? So if you're the Vince I'm talking about, we're in touch on Facebook, aren't we? So let's talk about that. Let's keep this going. There's somebody else I wanted. Conan Mack, please send me, if you're still around, please do send me an email. Because I want to get in contact with you. There's a lot I want to talk with you. It's not about going on live. It's just you're a touchstone for me. You're a man. I want to hear your opinion on things.
Is that Conan Mack? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you put.
I know him. I know him personally.
Ask him if we could have a chat. Ask him if we could have a chat. That'd be great. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe we could set it up a three-way or something like that in a neutral, in a venue, in what do you call Clonard Monastery or something. Somewhere like that. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Solariums. Thanks, guys. By the way, thanks, chat. These people in the chat are loyal. You keep coming back, and thanks a million for that. Much appreciated. Thanks for your wise comments. Wise? Don't know if they're wise, but some of them are intelligent anyway. That's the Smick rubbing off of me. So I needs national service. We need military. Without we're open totally. That's something to think about in the future. Yes. Yeah, that's something we have to wean ourselves off. Especially the famine. Yeah, don't know. I mean, how long is it justifiable to? I mean, certain within our movements complain. There's the whole Holocaust thing, and there's the Irish Holocaust thing. How long?
Let's move away from it.
The song, yeah.
We can sing "Revenge for Skibbereen," but that's all we'll do.
Or what about the Barbary Pirates? That was Baltimore, wasn't it? That was a Protestant.
Baltimore, yeah. The Baltimore, yeah. Yeah, well, it was actually a Protestant town, yeah.
Reactivated for that one, yeah. He already is.
That was actually.
He's on that path.
They were actually English settlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole village.
Yeah. So
there's actually.
Weren't they?
If anybody wants to look up a poem by, look up a poem by Thomas Davis, the very famous Thomas Davis, who wrote A Nation Once Again and The West Awake. You can find that. I think it's on Poem Hunter, but it's simply called Baltimore, and it's a lovely poem.
Mm-hmm. We'll have a look at it now. Do you want to do a wee recitation, or will that?
I don't know.
Chat, if you want to. Oh God, I'm never going to be able to find out where the hell it was. Let's leave it for the time being. Yeah, let's maybe do that next time. So let's fly through the rest of these. Murph, you're not going. Okay, that's big ups for Murph. Is there any that catch your eye there, Murph? You're sort of skipping ahead of me there. You've got some way of looking ahead. Any comments that you want to come back on?
I don't see a lot of comments, a lot of questions here.
That's okay.
Yeah, we should probably talk about activism at some point soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's what this channel is all about. So let's get that on. I'll just rip through these guys. Okay, no, let's talk about activism, right?
So I'll answer this question very quickly. Tom Barry says, could you ask Murph the difference between nationalism and ethno-nationalism? I don't make a distinction between nationalism and ethno-nationalism. I always use the term ethno-nationalism because some people will run from the idea of being an ethno-nationalist. So when you say nationalist, most people assume ethno-nationalist. Some people consider themselves cultural nationalists. Some people who are a bit, let's say Sinn Féin. I still know a lot of Sinn Féiners that would call themselves nationalists, but there's not a nationalist bone in their body. So I use the term ethno-nationalist or ethnic nationalist to distinguish myself, and we should all do that.
Nationalist is a term useful in a much more mixed. Well, you wouldn't call it a nation, like a country like England. The term ethno-nationalist is much more relevant in England because it's the ethnic, the mixed. It's much more multicultural. So you have to distinguish between a civic nationalist and we don't really have that distinction. I try and avoid it because it's for a normal man on the street. It sounds a bit kooky. It sounds a bit weird. There are certain faction, I won't say which party they belong to, but they always want to bring this up. But I think if those people went out and talked to more people on the street, they wouldn't bring it up as much because they'd realize that it isn't the best way to sell what we're to communicate what we're talking about. We're talking about Irish nationalism. You don't really have to go any further than that because Irish is fairly it's fairly homogenous, and most people, an Irishman recognizes another Irishman. Doesn't have to be a formula. You don't have to get a DNA test or anything like that. You can recognize an Irish person on the street, or that's my thoughts on it. Anyway. Should we move on from that one, or anything else to say on that one?
No, that's everything. Yeah. I think we should.
Oh, I mean, ethno-nationalist doesn't mean that you're looking for a 100% ethno state. That certainly doesn't mean that at all. Like there's an ethno states in the.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, and you okay. Right, okay. I know your best.
You know what I meant. You know what I
mean. Like there's an United Arab Emirates, for example. That's an ethno state. It's run for the original people of the country, but they have like 10 times as many guest workers in as their population is. So it's an ethno state, but there's like only 10% of the people, 8% of the people who live there, 8 to 10% of the people who live there are from that ethnicity. However, it is run for their people and for the continued survival and propagation. Propagation, is that the right word? Or survival of their people. So the people who go there to work as guest workers, they're very clear what where they're never going to become citizens of that country. They've got they come in to do a short-term job. They don't get social welfare. They can bring their families, etc. But it's all clearly laid out for them, and they decide if they're going to do that or not. And obviously, it's a popular place to be because it's full of workers. And they get they get well looked after, and then they go back home and retire back home and build a big ranch in the Philippines or wherever they came from. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I just want to a miss. That's something that it's what our enemies throw at us, like ethno nationalist. That means 100%. That means purity. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that at all. There's many different ways to express that. Anyway, as I said before, it's something we need. I'd really like us to get away from that because we don't need it. We don't need it in the Irish nationalist context. It's something that's come in. It's come in from other nationalist movements where it is more relevant because they are multi. It is a multicultural nation. Sorry, that's not a nation. Obviously, a multicultural country where the indigenous nation is trying to assert itself or reassert itself. Okay. Convoy roads. Yeah, I heard something. Oh, we're in 23. So this is a channel record. Murph, thanks again. Do like and subscribe, please, guys. And we'll definitely get Murph back if you will come back, man. That'd be fantastic.
Of course, anytime.
A Convoy Roadhouse Breaker. One in the Irish Resistance is. Oh yeah, okay. Breaker for a copy. The old. That was probably before your time. That movie.
Yeah, I don't recognize it. I don't recognize the name.
Just caught on to the end of it. Oh, there's Drogheda Irish Patriots. That's Cahill. Get Murphy agus a Cudge Horja to subscribe to Drogheda Irish Patriots. So let's give a shout out to Drogheda. Are you on? Are you subscribed?
I think so. I think maybe I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Cal's got a journalistic background as well. He's broadcaster on Murph FM, so he's got a good line in questioning there and getting into the local and national issues. And his particular love or passion is on Gaelic. So you'll get a wee Gaelic. You'll probably learn a few Gaelic words every time, Irish words every time you go on there. He's been great help to me in my journey with Irish. Oh, there's more peace. You're very welcome. Drogheda again. Now provides a good forum for people to get together and form local groups. Yes, exactly. This is Please, guys, form local groups. You don't know the day or the hour when the internet could get shut off and you'll be sitting on your own. You need go and use these tools that we have, like Facebook. For example, Facebook is fantastic for this. You can go through your friends and see who lives close to you, or use the Facebook groups that I've set up to find people local to you. And I don't care if you do it through, if you do it by PMs or whatever. Just get connected locally for your own solidarity, for your own mental health, for your own sense of togetherness, and go and eventually go and once you feel comfortable, go and meet those people. But for now, just worry about find them and use messenger chats and get connected people locally, because if the shit hits the fan, those people, and it could, we're looking at very changed circumstances. Those people could be your lifeline. Also, we need to be ready for upcoming elections as well. And elections work very regional basis. Like you can't if you're trying to coordinate a campaign in Galway and all the people that you know are in Dublin, that's no good to you. Anyway, okay. Paul O'Neill, our forefathers were a small group and numbers. Yeah. So small number of people, dedicated people, can achieve a lot. It could be, coming back to, these are the stories, the Keeling stories. These are the ones that to be getting out there. These are the things to be focusing on and running through. I was listening to, I've been tuning into the English nationalists there lately because, not because I consider myself an English nationalist, but I support nationalism in all countries. And Mike McCarthy plan could has a lot to say on that as well. And just looking for tips and looking for their ways of doing things. And I don't know what I was going to say now. It was something to do with that message that Paul brought up. Anyway, it might come back to me. I'm sort of like out of my comfort zone with 20 viewers. Right. Anything you want to add there, Murph? I'm skipping down through these.
No, that's fine.
There's a McCarthy plan. You could be both. Yeah, yes, we've talked about that. The McCarthy plan, I've had a chat about that. It's a personal thing. Like for me, oh, okay, we got down to the end. Okay, this is unopened. This is people want to talk about it. The whole ethno-civic debate, and of course, becoming very multicultural, maybe more so than UK and Eastern Europe. The percentage of people born outside of Ireland is higher than the percentage of people in the UK born outside of the UK. Sure, but the ethnic diversity level wouldn't be to the same extent. I think it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we need to. What we're up for is being aware of the demographics, and demographics is destiny, and to protect our demographic, if it becomes a minority with identity politics, we are, our rights will be taken away will be stripped away very quickly, even faster than they are currently. Celtic Crusader, I believe you can become successful in exercises by getting your name and face out there and becoming known within your own community. Again, local community, get off the keyboards. Obviously, there's very little we can do now, but as soon as this comes down, this lockdown eases off a bit, as soon as we can, we need to be meeting up with each other and also getting involved in local issues. And during my campaign, I met a lady who took me up to the anti-mining groups that were meeting up in Murph. That was very interesting. Very, very lefty, but and I had one of the organisers tackled, had a go at me up there, but actually had common cause with some of the other people up there. A lot of common cause. We believe in what is it in the declaration? I had it up on my Facebook. What were the words exactly? Irish resources for the Irish people, basically. Okay, let's get this long one here from Murph. Oh God, that sounds like a long answer.
No, I can do this one I can do it very quickly. Yeah. The UK is finished. England. England is finished. England will be a Muslim nation by the end of this century. The Union will break up. Scotland will leave. Eventually, Northern Ireland will reunite with Ireland within the next the rest of Ireland in the next 20 years, as the Protestant demographic declines. And England, I'm sure a lot of people in England will be very happy to see the back of the Paddies and the Scots, but they're in for a world of pain. Their progeny is in for a world of pain in the next generation or two.
So who's that? The Scots?
The English.
Oh, the indigenous English people. Yeah, yes. Their progeny. Yeah, their descendants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. There'll be refugees coming on boats.
Oh
the South Africans.
Currently there is every decade there is 250,000 people from England emigrating to Ireland. 200. So that's a 250,000 every 10 years. So expect to see that increase.
Okay, let's talk. Sorry for that black pill, guys, but that's Murph's opinion. So if you, it's there to be turned around. So if you're English or if you got some,
it's not. It's too late. It's too late.
Murph's is grand statements.
Yeah. Someone said no.
Prove the Belfast man wrong there.
Someone said Northern England will hold out longer, and it will. That's true. That will happen. But it will fall. We got
to focus on our focus is we can support from a distance, like the nationalist struggles of the indigenous peoples in other European countries. But our first focus is here.
Yes.
And we will help out where we can, of course, and network and whatnot. Yeah, that was Murph said that. You're way ahead of me with these messages here. Welcome historical review. Just talking about Pringle. I don't know what she said. He or she said it here. Okay, let's talk about activism.
Yeah. Okay.
Which for me is the pathway to get from these ideas and our vision. It's the pathway to the public. It's the press is closed to us. The tech giants. I mean, I put this out. It will only this video will only go to people who are already watching these sorts of videos. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
The 20,000 subscribers that Gran Torino has, there are people that were already in this conversation to a greater or lesser extent before they joined up with him. So whatever, no matter how many great speeches get made, convincing arguments get made, it's only ever going to go to the same 20,000 people. We need to get that through to people. I think there's a lot of maybe older members of the nationalist community don't get that. You need to be talking to people and make sure that they understand that, because they're sitting banging away every night on Facebook, sharing stuff, thinking that they're doing lots of good. That's only going into the echo chamber. It's a waste of time. So let's get those people, up, get hold of those people, explain to them, the way social media is working, how we're corralled into our reservation on social media. And if you're just banging away, sharing stuff into groups or on your page or whatever, thinking that you're making a difference, you're not really. It's going to be minimal. So go on. I hear there's Murph wants to come in there.
Yeah. So I'll first of all I'll tell a few funny stories about.
Yeah. Okay. After my rant go. I think the people need to hear that. Yeah. Good man.
No. But they're funny, but they're important as well. So because the media will only demonize you, you do have to feed them to a certain extent. Now it depends, but you have to feed them, and you have to be clever in how you feed them. So as I was saying earlier, we put out those leaflets in North Belfast. It was Irish Homes for Irish People.
Yes. Yeah. So do you purposefully made them a bit edgier than they needed to be to get picked up by the press?
You make them edgy. So we'll use this term edgy or controversial. You make them controversial enough that they will bait, but not controversial enough that 90% of the Irish population wouldn't disagree, wouldn't disagree with you. So Irish Homes for Irish People, Irish Jobs for Irish People. Most Irish people actually support that.
Yeah,
it's the people at the Irish Times or the North Belfast News that have no problem with that.
I've run those surveys. I've done those sorts of surveys in Facebook groups. This is what I was doing before I came to live in Ireland. This is what I was doing from my bedroom in London, and a wee bit in France when I was in France for a couple of weeks. I was trying to get teams of people to come, working out techniques to get in and run these surveys. It wasn't even putting forward it was just asking people, what percentage would you say should be a limit for the number of non-Irish born people in Ireland? It's just a question. It's not even putting forward a point of view, and people would come back and we'd give people 0, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, all the way up to 100. Of course, all the mad lefties and open borders gang would go in around 80, 90 or 100, and they try and mess around and add more. The first few times I left, I let them I didn't know enough about Facebook, and I let them add their own bloody responses. Get this racist wanker off. All this sort of nonsense was coming through, and they were trying to. They hate it. This was giving them this was giving them hernias. This thing, the fact that I was asking this in a normie group, they were like, "Oh, this cannot be," because people will actually find out that this way of thinking, these opinions are popular. Do you know what I mean? So it had to be absolutely suppressed, and this is what was coming back. Most people were in it to 10, 0, 10, 20, a few outliers. I've always been on record saying 20% is the limit. 20% is the limit. And a lot of people would have 0 or 5. People are saying 5, 15. Carl is on the record of saying 12. We all have our different levels, and then but there is a limit. There is a limit, and and this needs to be listened to. We have our right to express that, and if the majority wanted to be limited at 20%, then it should be limited at 20%. Otherwise, that's a travesty of democracy. So anyway, these surveys are a great way of do surveys, basically. Do surveys either in the street, hand them out, and let people fill them in for you, and then collect the results. And of course, it's a great way to recruit people as well, because if you find people who think the same as you, then you can take give a phone number, hand out a card, take their number, and it's not being controversial because you're just asking a question. You're just asking questions. You're just consulting. Right, so or you can do it in social media groups as well. Sorry, Murph.
Okay. Well, one other thing, and Bick was actually with us. It was me and the guys in the National Party again. I used to take Bick out with me and he used to help out. He was never a member of the party. But one thing we did, we were leafleting in South Belfast, heavily student area, a lot of Catholics in that area. But we just so happened to go down near the Lyric Theatre. And it was me and Beck actually did this. We went in and into the Lyric Theatre, and we took all of the pamphlets with the latest shows on it, and replaced it all with National Party leaflets.
The Lyric is the one that with the big windows that overlook the Lagan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Been in there
So there was no program. There was no programs for any of the Lyric Theatre, the Lyric Theatre dramas. It was just all National Party leaflets. And
how many? What would be the percentage of Lyric Theatre patrons who would be national support?
Very
1 in 10,000. 10 to 10,000, something like that. Yeah. Anyway,
but the Lyric Theatre went nuts, and they started messaging the National Party Twitter. Now again, so what do you do when something like that happens? We said, well, it was actually me and I can't remember who else it was, but we sent it straight to the media. And the media didn't bait. They didn't bait. But no. Yeah, they were too clever. The media here is much clever and much more cautious than the media in the UK. They've seen what happened with the BNP in Britain first. The more oxygen you give nationalists, the more popular they become. So they're much more hesitant to report on you.
That's a real red pill there. Right there, that's a real white pill. That's a real white pill. The more oxygen. So just keep banging away, make a big noise, make as big noise. Yeah.
But there was a massive Twitter row between the National Party and the Lyric Theatre, and we were up for hours all night just sitting laughing at this. It was hilarious, and there was get your leaflet.
Were you involved in the Twitter debate?
I was on the phone to the person that was handling the National Party Twitter, and
you were calling the Twitter bombs. You were calling in.
I was calling the Twitter bombs. Yeah. We had some really good times in the National Party. Another one we did was we ran. He wasn't a National Party candidate. You call him Paul O'Hagan. He was an independent candidate in the general elections, last general elections. And no, sorry, not that general election, not the one in December, but the previous one, one Theresa May was running. I think it was the generals or the councils. I can't even remember now. But he was an independent candidate. Again, Beck was with me at this time, and we went down. He was running for councillor. It was council elections, and he was running for the council elections in Armagh City. And Justin said, go down and help him. We'll see if there's much support for the party message, even though he wasn't running for the party in Armagh. So we said, right, okay, we'll go down and help him. Now, the National Party are pretty good at leaflets, but Paul O'Hagan, who's a friend of mine, he drew up his own leaflets. And we just seen the cover of it. First of all, he has spelt his name wrong in Irish. Tried to spell his name in Gaelic. It was Paul O'Hagan, and he spelled that wrong. So as if that wasn't bad enough. But we had put these leaflets, his election leaflets, through probably every door in Armagh City. And it was just near the end. We were actually putting National Party leaflets through with Paul O'Hagan's leaflets as well.
Yes.
And it was only right towards the end. Someone came out and started shouting at us, and we were like, God, I wonder, is he that angry? Like, they were essentially anti-abortion elections.
Houses, just residential houses.
Yeah.
What time of day was it?
It was a nice day. We thought they were anti-abortion leaflets, and we were like, it's a bit of a mad reaction. And it was Beck. It was actually Beck said to me. He said, "Ben, come here. Look at this." And he opened up the leaflets and he says, read that. And it was, thank God for partition. It says, we were like, we have just spent the last 6 hours handing out these leaflets, never bothered to look inside the leaflets, and it says, thank God for partition. It's
Paul O'Hagan had put.
Yeah, partition is God's curse upon Ireland for moving away from the Roman Catholic Church, and we were like, "Oh God!"
This was
I did. No. This was his candidate.
The National Party, leaflet.
Oh, no,
Obviously,
he wasn't running for. But he was a National Party. He spoke at National Party conferences, so he was well known as a National Party activist. But he wasn't running on there, he wasn't running on there on a National Party ticket. And
so
partition
was God's scourge on Ireland.
Yeah, and then he had like thank God for partition.
For turning away.
Because the abortion had not been introduced into the north as of yet. It had been introduced down south.
Oh yeah, I get you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's a different. I can go along with that one. All right.
Well, maybe not, because he only got 30 votes in the whole election. So it wasn't a very popular message.
It was in Armagh City, right?
It was in big.
Drogheda Irish Patriots. What do you think of that? Drogheda Irish Patriots. It's from Cal's. It
was in big red writing as well. It was the thing you seen the most on the leaflets was "Thank God for partition." I was like, oh, it's like, let's get in the car and get out of here. It's like, will you come back up and help us tomorrow, Murph? No, I don't think so.
Stick some clay over the number plate and go.
Yeah. But as I was saying there about activism,
Celtic Crusader knows the score there. He said he got 30 votes in total.
Yeah, I think it was 30 votes he got. I think he got 30 votes in total. I remember his speech in Derry. Can I ask Celtic Crusader, was he in Derry? Was he there?
There's 10 seconds delay between us broadcasting, so.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
So now he's hearing it about now.
Yeah. The Celtic Crusader will remember me. I was the one that did all the introductions. I was I forget what you call that there. You're the man that speaks at the very beginning, then
MC?
calls up the speakers. Yeah, the MC. I was the MC at the Derry meeting.
That was the Derry
National Party National Party meeting. Yeah, Paul Hagan.
You might know some friends of mine who were at that. There's a couple of people from Oma, perhaps. Was that recently?
No. He wasn't at the meeting. He said he saw it on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, and so Fight for Air says, what was the feedback like in Belfast? Yeah, the feedback was pretty good.
Fight for Air, by the way, is markets. Fight for Air is a Smick or Smick. Hope he's not he or she isn't offended by that. Well, if they are, so what? Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So what was the feedback in Belfast like? What do you in terms of what Fight for Air? Just clarify that question if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, but I'm assuming it just means in terms of talking to people about leafleting and whatnot. Did you do much leafleting to houses and whatnot?
Oh yeah. We did a lot of leaflet. We leafleted in public. The National Party leafleted in public. We leafleted at St. Patrick's Day parade. We got some attention on that because the presenter of an Irish language TV show on the BBC, I can't remember if it was me or Beck. I think it was Beck. Beck gave him a leaflet, and he says he scrunched it up and threw it in Beck's face. That didn't happen because he'd have bit your ears off if you'd have threw a leaflet back in his face. So that didn't happen. So we got into a bit of a Twitter war with this guy, this BBC presenter of an Irish language program. They were very controversial.
Presenter of an Irish language program, yeah.
On the BBC, yeah. On the BBC.
Belfast, obviously.
Yeah.
Male or female?
Male.
Right.
Yeah. So
knows who it is.
Yeah. I forget who he is. I actually
no names, obviously. Yeah, we're not going to name the person.
Yeah. And
I've had a few leaflets scrunched up and thrown back in my face, but I think that's the worst I've ever had.
Yeah. We got a good reception. We got a very good reception. I think Armagh was an eye opener because a lot of people said that they agreed with us on the anti-abortion, anti-immigration topic, but they had to vote Sinn Féin. I call these people Sinn Féin bots. No matter what, they will always vote Sinn Féin because they're so single-minded. It's United Ireland, United Ireland, United Ireland.
Oh, I heard that as well around mid-Ulster. I agree with you. You've got some good things there, but it's the old orange-green thing. It's the old one-upmanship. We're not going to let them have a one-up.
Yeah.
Get one over on us. So my vote counts in the one-upmanship war, the eternal one-upmanship war. What are you going to do? Well, maybe you're seeing you're talking about a different phenomenon that's died in the world, Sinn Féin bots, as you describe it.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people were probably weren't sectarian, probably weren't doing it just to keep the DUP out, but they were doing it because my dad's still alive, and he thinks like this. I said to him, like, what happens when we're a minority in our own homelands? Does it make a difference if we have a united Ireland? And he says it doesn't matter. We can sort that out. The issue today is not the it's not the constitutional issue. It's not the border issue. It's a demographic issue.
100%. Yeah, people don't get it. I mean, I remember talking to my auntie about this, and she says, "Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, so she's trying to get her head around, what I was doing, standing, in the election there back in December, and what I was standing for, and why I had an issue with demographics and whatnot." And I said, "Well, look what's happened in London. It's the same thing is about to happen is happening in Ireland as well." And we need to stop it. And she says, "Oh, but the EU will sort that out. Surely that's the sort of thing the EU does." You don't get it at all.
That's why I'm not a Democrat.
They're the last people who will sort. They're the ones that are driving this forward. Of course, part of
that's why I'm not a Democrat.
They've been like brainwashed or growing up with this like faith in the EU as the panacea of all evils.
Yeah.
What if the EU doesn't do it? Why don't we? Okay, so maybe you're right. Maybe the EU will. You have to like humor people. You have to humor people. What if the EU will sort of? Well, shouldn't we at least take control of that process just in case? Like some nasty people get control of the EU somewhere down the line, like not like it's already happened, and decide they don't want to do that and they don't want to look after the Irish people's interest. Okay, maybe you've got a point there. So this, you have to pick your battles, and you have to be cautious about how you get in there. Anyway, sorry. It's about your experiences. The question was what was the reception around Belfast?
Yeah, it was almost entirely positive. We even spoke to a few old IRA people, and we had leafleted their houses. People that had done jail time, they were totally in agreement. Aside from one person, I think it was near the Armour Road. He came out and he threw away the leaflet, and of course the Lyric Theatre. But we did essentially vandalise the Lyric Theatre. So I say.
Well, come on. The Lyric Theatre was always going to come. The Lyric Theatre was always going to give you some level of resistance. That one was predictable. That was an odds-on. Kind of give me.
Yeah. So someone says
Marcus is from Belfast as well, and Marcus and Carl have been met up recently. So we'll do a meet up soon between the five of us. Me, Marcus, myself, Carl, yourself, and Bick. Just all get to know each other. And anybody, Fight for Air should come along too. Anybody else in Belfast area? Let's get to know each other and once this, maybe we'll do it before the fucking, we'll just go up anyway. Do a cheeky wee drink. Joking, of course. I'm really joking. Sorry, go on ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking about activism, and we were talking about how important it is to get out and to do these stunts, like what we did in the Lyric Theatre, or like what I recommend to the National Party was to hold a flash mob outside a halal slaughter factory, and things like that. Things that most people in the country would actually agree with us on, but which the cosmopolitan liberal bubble, that includes the media, the politicians, they will bait. So you got to get them to bait, and they will take your message forward to the general population.
They will carry it for you.
Yeah.
Trojan horse, yeah. Or there's a word. There's a biological term for that where you infect the unwitting host with the seeds of your idea. Well, obviously, if it's biology, it's the seeds of your. I don't want to use that. Yeah. Stop it right there. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So somebody else is the vector. You use them as the vector to get the message out. Like as you were saying, there's a corollary. There's a precedence for this in England in the early getting up to 2008, 2009. Maybe Salati remembers something about that. Or any of the Irish, the people in the chat there lived in England around about that time. Anyway, sorry, go on ahead.
Now, in terms of political party, and again, this is one of the things I always stress to Justin and the other members of the National Party when I was there, was funds. We need funds.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I heard Justin on Dawn of Critique. I don't really want to talk about the National Party, but I actually do have to bring this up. He said about, he didn't want to ask for donations. He almost put it across as the national idea should be good enough. That would, I mean, you cannot promote the national idea without money. You cannot advertise without money. If you want to advertise a national idea, you have to have money. Money for Facebook advertisements, money for newspaper advertisements, money for banners, money for leaflets. If you and this is what I emphasised constantly, was fundraising. Now, how do you fundraise? You need a database, an email list. You need a structure, as in you need people assigned tasks, working for the party, maybe even full time, part time at least. These are all vital. You need people that are experienced in fundraising, web design, coding, data management, finances, bookkeeping. People think you can just register your party, hold a few meetings, and even run a few candidates, and that's enough. It's like it was proven in the last elections for every single political party. It wasn't enough. Facebook should have been utilised more. There should have been much more emphasis on fundraising, because if you were able to raise funds, you could have ran more candidates, and you could have better funded those candidates in terms of literature and putting people on the streets, banner drops, all this. Politics all comes down to money. Unless you have look at Niall. Niall has got a newspaper out. He's doing the food aid. He ran as a political candidate with a massive campaign as well. That's what you can do with money.
Sorry, time out. No chat. I've put my email in the chat there, and anybody else who wants to pick it up. Yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah, that's what you can do. Yeah, money's important at a certain point. I mean,
money's key.
Well, that money as well. Money is good, of course. Yeah, money is good.
Money's key.
Money doesn't need to stop you though. And there's ways to improvise. We did a lot of improvisation in our campaigns. Cal, and if you haven't got money, it doesn't. Well, yeah, obviously you have to bare minimum to get your leaflets done, and put a deposit down if you need to put a deposit down and stuff like that. But we just the campaigns that I've seen recently were very much improvised. And we did remarkably well for the amount of manpower, money, and effort that were put in. And don't get me started. If we'd had the resources that Niall had, we could have done very well. We could have done what we could have done with that. Anyway, that's Yeah, we could get into discussion all day long about whether he made good use of that money, but we're not going. We agreed before we're not going to go down that route because the man's a friend of yours, right? So we just out of respect for yourself,
Now I just want to say, you say money's important. I would emphasize money's key. Money is key. Sinn Féin's rise in the north, even just in the north. Really occurred. It was, of course, in relation to they put away their guns, went into constitutional politics, but it was when the money started to flood in from America. And then with money, you can buy the expertise, and that's what happened. That's how Sinn Féin have risen to where they are today, because they have the money. They have more money than any party in the country, and they will be, after this Fine Gael Fianna Fáil coalition comes to an end, they will be the next party of government. And it's because Sinn Féin.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because we were talking about what's going to happen politically. I mean, you've sort of given the punchline away now, but let's go. You've given chapter 10 away, but let's go through chapters 1 to 9. We were talking about whether this is one thing we didn't talk about, whether these talks between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are going to come to fruition. What do you reckon?
I think they will enter the coalition.
If you think it's so, if you don't want to talk about it in sport,
No, I do.
That's cool.
No, I do. I think they will enter the coalition.
Yeah.
But I think in the long term,
who make up the numbers, or does it matter?
I think could be Labour.
They need 8 seats.
Could be Labour.
Labour have 5 enough.
It'll be Labour or the Greens.
Labour plus. Labour. Oh God.
It'll be Labour or the Greens. It doesn't really matter because all that matters is Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are in government together, and the optics of that are terrible. The optics of that. I mean, even just the thought of that for most people. And I was actually it's going a bit of a tangent. I was actually speaking with someone, a good friend of mine, and he's actually in the army, and a friend of his, the Irish Army, and a friend of his who's in the Irish Army, but also in a Fianna Fáil common group chat, and there's chaos amongst the ranks of Fianna Fáil. I know you're not allowed to be in the army and also be a member of a political party, but I suppose you know what the army doesn't know doesn't hurt them. But there's total chaos within the ranks of Fianna Fáil, and especially at the Ogra Fianna Fáil level. They're totally opposed to the idea because they know what's going to happen. They know the optics are terrible. You have the two traditional. Yeah. You have the two traditional parties ganging up, keep the most popular party in the country out of power. And because Fianna Fáil present themselves as the Republican Party, and they're ganging up with what is perceived as the right-wing blue shirt party to keep Sinn Féin, who are the Irish nationalist IRA party, out of power. The optics of that look terrible, and they know that as well, and they know that at ground level. It's simply Micheál Martin and the rest of the TDs in the Dáil simply want to be back in government, and they'll step over their granny to do it. And of course, Varadkar, who doesn't have a principled bone in his body, will do anything to stay in power, even if he has to rotate Taoiseach with Micheál Martin and maybe even Ryan at some point.
And who was?
Is it Ryan? Ryan, he's the leader of the Greens, isn't it? The Greens?
Oh, Seamus Ryan, yeah. The Wolfman.
Yeah. So if he has to rotate the Taoiseach, as long as he gets to be a Taoiseach for 2 or 3 of those 5 years, I don't think it matters. As long as they maintain their power, and what we'll see is a strong Sinn Féin opposition, and then at the next general election, we'll see a strong Sinn Féin result, which will bring Sinn Féin in the government.
We were talking about how in changed times now, and Sinn Féin, you predict that Sinn Féin will be a lot more vociferous and oppositional in their opposition than how they were in the previous term, the previous Dáil session, whatever you want to call it. It's called Dáil session, isn't it? Well, the 4 Dáil session. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all of the
session more like Christmas to Easter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, previous Dáil term, let's call it. Yeah.
Yeah. All of the big social issues are gone. We've had gay marriage legislation. We've had abortion legislation, the blasphemy referendum. We had the divorce, another divorce referendum that further liberalised the divorce laws. There's no other referendums really to be had. So
that's this big liberal.
For 4 or 5 years,
liberal consensus to get all that stuff through, to block out any traditionalism, any resistance to those things. Now they've done it. Now they don't need to. They can go their separate ways and start to fight it out on economic issues.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, they have a consensus on social issues, but when it comes to the economic issues, there is not a consensus there. There's more of a consensus between the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and that's why they're going into coalition. Mm-hmm. But Sinn Féin will take a hard left approach, and Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil coalition will be painted as I don't like using the term right-wing capitalist because they're not right-wing. Capitalism is not right-wing. It comes from the Enlightenment. It comes from it's a liberal idea. It comes from Adam Smith. It's an idea that sprung up during modernity.
Free market capitalism is closer to libertarianism, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, free market capitalism is. I don't like the libertarianism. I don't make much of a distinction between libertarianism and liberals. Libertarians simply describe themselves as libertarians to avoid being thrown in with the tranny lovers and the gay marriage fanatics and the abortion fanatics.
Keep going, man. I'll just get some water here.
Okay, go ahead. I can't even remember what I was talking about now. So Sinn Féin. So by the time the next general election comes around, I think Sinn Féin will get in on a hard left economic ticket because it's a vote winner. It's genuinely a vote winner. Me and Beck have talked about this. Social conservatism and left-wing economics. There is a space, or should I even call it socialist economics? Socialist economics. Socialist economics, social conservatism. There's a space in the market for that. You could even call socialist economics Catholic economics, whatever. Because there is that strand within sort of Catholic economics that does promote social justice, and it's not the social justice that we hear these blue-haired transsexuals preaching about on O'Connell Street. It's genuine social economic justice. It's sort of the policy that the Into have. To be very fair to them, I'm not a big Into fan, but I mean they do talk about economic justice and a fair deal for the working man.
They're the best. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I include Renew in our fold, in the true nationalist fold, because they've changed. I know that you're a great fan of Renew, but Renew have changed a lot. I've talked to them in the past. I've met some of them at the protest, and I think they're good people. And they're not a million miles away. A wee bit further than you get into. So they're the best of the best of the best of it. I know they get a lot. They get absolutely, some of these patriot groups, they absolutely get hammered. But we have to be ready. We have to be able to make friends and make alliances with people that are close to us. But better that what's the term? My enemy is my friend, sort of thing. Sorry, go on ahead. I'm not very articulate at expressing these ideas. You're far better. You've got the floor, my friend.
No, sorry. It was just that there was a question popped up and that took away. I forget now what I was going to say, but it was a question by Tom Barry. Mm-hmm. What did Niall do that the MP didn't to raise money for papers and food drop? He's one guy, but the MP is a party. Well, Niall actually has.
You better not answer that question.
Yeah. Niall actually does have a party now. He started that party about 2 months ago. Shiel na Heron. What Niall did was to utilize.
It's another party.
Yeah. What Niall did was. That's all right.
You don't want to. We don't want to get into that yet. Sorry. So retract.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Niall utilized his database. That was simple. I begged the National Party to send out emails to raise funds. I drew up emails for them. I had ideas for them. I was in touch with manufacturers for them, just for party badges and things like that. No, they didn't want to do it. They have no interest in raising money. And if you have no interest in raising money, then I get nothing out of that. I wasn't expecting a cut. It was for the general election campaign. So I put a lot of money into the National Party. For the few advertisements that they did run on Facebook, for the thousands of leaflets that were printed. The North was self-sufficient in terms of leaflets and in terms of the party as a whole, because we all paid for it ourselves.
You paid like 600 or 700 quid into the
it was about 600 or 700 quid.
The 2 or 3 years that you're involved with them,
yeah. Oh, that would have just been in the last year, really. That would have just been in the last year, yeah. That was spent on advertisements, on just donations. That was spent on leaflets that we got printed as well. I still, in my house, I've got about 3,000 National Party leaflets. They're just sitting there.
I've got a big box of 2,000 of my leaflets from the campaign left sitting there. I'm still down 1,000 quid from I spent 1,000. Well, okay, maybe 950 because I spent 1,100 and I got 150 in donations. So, by the way, if anybody feels flush, please. Well, I'm not going to say. If you want to, I'm looking to recoup that money. No pressure. Sorry, go on ahead, Murph. Yeah. So you spent £700, and you've got the leaflets lying around.
Yeah.
Nobody can say that you didn't put your heart and soul into the National Party over the 3 years that you were involved with them.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to. I don't want to talk too much about the National Party because it sounds like I have a gripe against them, which I don't have a gripe against them. I was just answering that question because I think people should know. I mean, it isn't the well managed, the well oiled machine.
Well, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
On the flip side, then Niall did have some good advice from people who came in and said and told him, give him some good advice, who had done this sort of thing before, and helped him set up the website. Give him advice on the website. Give him advice how to make how to make the most of those contacts that he had and try and get people working. And he's trying to do the same thing with the Facebook Patriots group. I have to say that now, we were starting to get somewhere before this COVID thing came in, and then now it's succeeded in a way that I haven't in terms of getting people out, showing their face, and actually meeting up. But credit where credit's due. You have to give him that credit.
Yeah. I mean, he had people helping him as well with the leafleting and stuff like that during the election. So he's good at what he does. He's the workhorse. He gets out and does. He's not what do you call him? Betwixt, or I forget the name of that YouTuber.
Betwixt.
Yeah, I mean, I know now personally. He's not a grifter. He is not a grifter. Yeah, he's not living at large up in Donegal. He's a good guy. He's got his heart in the right place.
Betwixt is like he's a bit like Smick FM. Everybody gets a touch off Betwixt. I'll know I've made it whenever Betwixt makes a comedy video about me. I'll be delighted because it'll mean that I've made it. I'll be in good company. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward. I don't know if I'll ever make that day, but that's how you know you've made it. If Betwixt makes a piss take or what's the word? Does an imitation. There was another, this Celtic Crusader made a comment. There's an AFP lady in Cork who did very well, got about 2%. Yeah, Tara Nidawo. I know her. I've met her recently at the Irish Student Party. She's I think she'd had some experience. But the other thing is a team. She created. I think she had a team of like about 10 people. And this is key. This is where activism plays its part, because like the team. Let's say for every 10 people that you have on your team, that could equate to 1% of the vote. So if you have 100 people on your team, then you're going to get 10% of the vote, which is going to get you elected. So it really is that simple. It really is a direct proportional. If you want to get a TD elected in your constituency, go and join the nationalist candidates team and help out and and try and recruit other people as well. We in Louth, Cahill, who's now on the chat there as Drogheda Irish Patriots, I helped him out by managing the team, and I think over the short period we had 20 people. We had 20 people involved in canvassing or handing out leaflets of one form or another. Some people only came along for like 2 or 3 hours, and some people were like stalwarts and came out every day. And that's you can see that in the figures, because we got 1,500, the equivalent of 1,500 votes across all the preferences out of 5,000 conversations that we had. So it is and smaller teams didn't do as well. And Ben Gilroy had a big team as well, and he somebody earlier on mentioned that I think there's maybe about 20 people involved in. It was partly because he was a well-known figure, but also because, I was knocking on the door for Ben Gilroy as well, and only one person in 100 knew of him. So his public figure, he seems like a big figure in nationalist or right-wing circles. Yeah. But that doesn't. We have to keep coming back to this. Is like just a little bubble, a little reservation of 20,000 people. Just because all you see when you log. I'm talking to the audience here, not you, Murph.
I know.
All you see when you log on to Facebook is like nationalist content and nationalist memes, and all you see when you log on to YouTube is the same, or Twitter. that is only because they have put us all together with each other in a little reservation, and we're just like talking to each other. Really, the other 5 million people in the country don't see that. We have to. I keep coming back to this. We have to get this and into the older members, into the more boomer members because they have an imperfect understanding of social media. They think, oh, social media, yeah, it goes out to the whole world. It doesn't. So they need to be told that, and we need to refocus. People are putting in fantastic efforts. I do. I moderate groups, and I give people a once over to decide if we're going to let them into a Facebook group, and I go through their history to see what sort of stuff they'll be sharing. This is I'm giving Auntie for all the secrets, so they know anyway. Basically they'd have to have a profile going for a year, and it doesn't matter anyway. Fuck them. But you can see that these people have been like the narcissists have been sharing like 10 videos a day or 10 posts a day, working away, beavering away, and then they've gotten no likes, no shares, no comments. Like all this effort is going into sharing information, and it's completely ineffective. So if we could just get a tenth of that energy and power and direct it into useful, productive activity, then we can get places. So please come to me, bring me your poor huddled masses, and let's organize. Let's get that. If you don't want to go out and canvas, that's cool. There's plenty of work to be done in sharing information, but sharing it with a specific purpose and a specific place where the normies are. And I can show you how to do that, and we can do that. So join the Patriot groups, Patriots Galway, Patriots Dublin, Patriots whatever, Patriots Mid Ulster, whatever your constituency or county. Just put Patriots in front of it and search for it on Facebook, and you'll find the groups and join us. Okay, what we were talking about before I did my little commercial. It's like a commercial interlude, but the commercial I'm given is always the same thing. Activism, organize, get active, organize, find each other. It's always the same thing, and it's not about me. It's about bringing the day forward when we can put 1, 2, or 3, or right now let's just focus on getting one nationalist TD elected who can get in there. That will change the conversation to have somebody fearless in there. You've seen.
Well, we do have nationalist TDs in the Dáil.
Grealish, but he only becomes nationalist like 3 months out from an election. And Ronan Murphy, they only become nationalists like 3 months away from an election.
And Collins.
Michael Collins as well, yeah. But they're not, they're not dyed in the wool. They're not. They're more career politicians. They're nationalists, they're nationalists when push comes to shove. But we need somebody who's going to be doing that like all year round, all the way through the 4 or 5 year Dáil term, not just like 3 months away from the election.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I
thought we put themselves in opposition and not be tempted, not be bought off by, come on and join the government, and then and we'll buy you off with something. What do you need? Well, if you were to join there's no way they would take it. Once you get somebody in there, who knows? There's a whole different ball game starts, and you start pushing the Overton window. Because the press have to cover. The press have to, number one, the Dáil records get written up, so it gets recorded. Whatever happens in there, and if Grealish causes a fuss or something like that, it gets out there, And the press, no matter how hard the press tried to demonize him for that, it got him. The boxes coming in from. I heard from my friends in Galway, the boxes coming in from Muchtarard were full of votes for Grealish.
Yeah.
No matter how much demonization he got, like the more they demonized him, the more they thought he's our man, and he could. They all the slightly nationalist career TDs got returned.
Yeah.
Sorry, I would often one there, but
no, that's fine. Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. Grealish made those comments in the Dáil about, I think it was aid to Africa.
African spongers.
African spongers. The media picked that up, ran with it, thought that they were demonising Grealish, but it turns out most people in his constituency actually agree with him.
Yeah.
So they carried the message. Now he probably wouldn't have got the same result if he hadn't made those comments. Because think of how long it takes you to go around knocking every door and say, "I'm Noel Grealish, I'm your TD. I think Africans are spongers." No, all he had to do was say it in the Dáil. The media reported it, and there you go.
It backfired on them. Yeah, it's a bit like I was involved in the Ulster protest. I brought people together and provided them with information and provided them with a bit of like tech savvy and stuff like that, and give them the push. And then in the end, they pushed me on. There was some more centrist forces in there that got rid of me, and then I was shocked to have my name mentioned in the Irish Times, the Sunday Irish Times. But it's actually backfired in the Sunday Irish Times because, as I keep, for my friends in the Sunday Irish Times, Mark Tighe and was it Sorka Pollock, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Yeah,
I would be still in my bedroom in London, afraid, worried about being doxxed, worried about, frightened little Connor. But they thrust me into the limelight. They thrust me forward onto the stage. And I have nothing but gratitude, my dear friends. And thank you for doing your bit for the Irish nationalist cause. Yeah. So everything to do can backfire if it depends on the attitude you take to what they give you.
Yeah, I was just going to say we are talking about politics and going the political route here, but I don't see that there is salvation through the ballot box. I don't think the problem. No, I don't think the demographic problem will be solved by simply. It's not simply. It's almost
no more black pills.
No. Let's be honest. It's almost impossible. It will be almost impossible to get because at the end of the day, when a national party does raise, and a nationalist party will raise. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, when a nationalist party does raise, the establishment will crack down on them, and not only that, all the other parties will gang up. So what you need essentially
they'll also start stealing the softer end of the policies.
Yeah. So what?
They want those votes.
Yeah.
The model has been repeated across Europe. This party rises up, and then the centre right party starts talking about demographics or starts talking about immigration. Takes the votes, but at least it gets there's more than one way to skin a cat. At least it gets the policy changed, or the policy being talked about. Sorry, go on ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, what a nationalist party has to do is to get 50.1% of the vote, and that is never going to happen. To take control of the Irish government, you have to get 50.1% of the vote, or you have to get a certain amount of TDs plus one. You have to get half the TDs in the Dáil plus one. That is never going to happen. That is not going to happen in 30, 40, or 50 years.
Or
that is not going to happen.
Or coalition. But you don't think they would do business? But you don't think the other parties would? You think the same thing would happen that's happening in Germany and Sweden, where they say we won't do business with these horrible far right parties?
Yeah, Swedish Democrats and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you look at Britain in 2009 during the European elections, the BNP won 2 seats. Then the establishment started promoting UKIP. Nigel Farage was on Question Time. He's on Question Time more times than any other politician in history. Then UKIP started to rise. And then what happened? Then David Cameron announced that he would hold a referendum on EU membership if the Tories get back into power. Now, UKIP only had 2 MPs, and they were both defections from the Tory party. Yeah. So what happened in the end? The Tory party got into power again, and they had to hold a referendum, and we left the European Union. You only have to scare the mainstream parties into taking action, just like the BNP and UKIP did. They scared the Tory party into holding a referendum because the Tory party knew their constituency base was largely against the EU.
Yeah. So
if
carry yourself, you can be the agent of the catalyst that causes the policy.
Exactly.
Taken on by.
It's shifting.
At least their policy what you stand for is we're not in this for the money, right? We're not doing this for money or career. We're doing this because we want to see these policies. We want to save Ireland. We want to see these policies enacted. We want to see some demographic defence going on here. So I don't. If Sinn Féin turn around and do a volte face, about turn in 5 years, it's probably unlikely.
No, it's very unlikely. The most likely to do that will be Fianna Fáil.
Fianna Fáil, They start implementing a softer version of our policies. It's. Fianna
Fáil talked about immigration restrictions in the run up to the last general election. So it's already starting to hit home with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's already starting to hit home with them. They know. Fine Gael will be the party of mass immigration. I think Leo Varadkar is now the face of mass immigration in Ireland. I think eventually Fianna Fáil will take up the mantle of being the immigration restrictionist, even if they're not anti-immigration. They'll be in favour of immigration restrictions for purely economic reasons, not for any ethno-nationalist reasons.
Ideological reasons,
yeah. When really it should be the Green Party who are the immigration restrictionist party, but sure.
Anti-human of whatever ethnicity restriction.
Don't expect any consistency in Green Party policy.
Let's see what Marcus says here. He says something about, as a former Fianna Fáil Ard Cordia member, I can assure you Fianna Fáil would sell their souls for a Biden government. We were talking about that earlier on, about how Micheál is desperate to get in. And the rest of them as well. They've been out for 10 years, haven't they?
Yeah, 10 years now, yeah.
Two terms. So, anything else sad about activism? Anything?
No.
South, you did canvassing. I know you talked about Armagh, but you did some canvassing in the run-up to the general election. Was that for the wee Reynolds, the wee farmer?
No. I was active during the abortion referendum. We did stuff down there at the time. Usually, mainly at the marches and things like that. Hand out leaflet. I mean, it's not too hard to hand out leaflets, and by the time you hand out a leaflet, if you're afraid of someone turning around and saying something to you, you're already away before you even realise what's on the leaflet itself. So, hand out leaflets is nothing. You could do it in your sleep. So there's no excuse for not getting out there and handing out leaflets. Mm-hmm. It's the very least you can do. I've knocked on doors as well for Paul O'Hagan. This is fairly simple stuff. It's fairly simple stuff, and so there's no excuse for anybody not to get out and do stuff like that.
Did you see? Did you see on the leaflet thing? Did you see our stream? We've got like 6 activists that all been involved in the election, and we talked about how easy it was, and creating a sort of like a career progression for volunteers coming in to canvassing, so that nobody would be dropped in the deep end. That you'd always have like a mentor, and you'd only be expected to do something that you were comfortable with doing. There's maybe a tiny one step slightly. There's a concept in education called the zone of proximal development, that where it's outside it's something you haven't done before, but you can do it with the support of a trained person. Yeah. But if you go beyond that, then even if you've got the trained person, it's too much for you. And if you didn't have the trained person, you couldn't do it. So we want to be working with people within that zone of proximity, what they haven't done before maybe, but they're capable of doing with the support of another person there to help them along. And just make it easy, because it's all the most important conversation in nationalism for me is making sure that we get some TDs into the Dáil at the next opportunity, or if there's a county council elections that come up, or local elections, whatever type of election. And that's all down to the size of the team, because we're not, unless we get a massive amount of money from somewhere, or the press suddenly have a Damascene revelation and start actually reporting on our parties, which isn't going to happen, right? We need to go door to door, like I keep going back to the Arthur Griffith Sinn Féin election campaign of 1918, where they just got in the cars and went to country. They didn't have any money either. It was just like all face to face painting stuff on the side of on the side of the vehicles or the carts or whatever, and off they went, and mobilised every man jack of the country, and that's what it took to get the 73 seats that led to the first oil. So we need to be doing something similar, and this is the most important thing we need to be thinking about. Not bloody E. Michael Jones, not Q and on. No, these things should be related to as like entertainment and morale boosters. I don't believe in Q and on anyway. I think it's a load of shit. But some people. So let them play, let them have their thing. Let them do that shit. But sure, in the run, getting close to election, there's no way we can be fucking talking about this like subsidiary stuff. We need to be organised early and not get caught on the hop like we did last time, and we only got 1%. And what 1% is a direct corollary of the fact that there were like an average of only 10 people involved in each of those election teams of the nationalists, like the 11 Irish Freedom Party candidates, 10 National Party candidates, and the 11 Renew candidates, and a plethora of career independents and a plethora of first-timer independents. So on average, they would have had 10 people each, and that's okay. The career guys get in, of course, but the rest of us, we got like 1%. If we had 100 people, if we have 100, I swear to God, if you get 100 people on that team committed, you're getting, and they do the right thing, and don't cock up, and you got somebody who knows how to lead them, unlike one person in the in the community whose name shall remain unknown, but she's not a member of a party. Then you're going to get people elected. Okay, sorry, that's another of my party political broadcasts on behalf of nationalism, Irish nationalism, but it's important. Sorry, what do you?
Well, what's equally important, even actually more important, is fundraising, good propaganda, good video making. Just as important as getting boots on the ground and things like that. It's even more important. You can't sell your message on social media, in newspapers, unless you have the funds. And that's what I'd want anybody involved in any nationalist parties to take away. Unless you have the funds, you cannot run a website. You cannot get the banners, leave.
I disagree. We in the Irish Freedom Party, we did everything on a shoestring last time, and there was a girl there who got 2%. Tara got 2%.
I know, but where did she finish? There was 7 for 8. 7 for 8.
Yeah, well, okay.
What matters is first.
If she had 100 people in her team, she would have got elected, because our message is our message. I don't want to get adversarial here, but
no. It's all, no. We can be adversarial. There's no problem being that. But we've talked before about this. What's important is brand recognition.
If she had 100 people working on that team, she could have got the whole thing covered. Because we found in Louth, with 5,000 leaflets, we got 1,500. Now, they weren't all first preference. That's like a third of the people we talked to or gave leaflets to voted for us. So the vote is there. That's without any special spending of brand recognition. I'll be the first to say the Irish Freedom Party, the election campaign, the leaflets weren't. It was improvised. I'm sure Herman and Dolores will admit the same. It was not far from perfect. It was improvised. But the machine is the way. Building a machine, an army of people that are willing to go out and talk to people it means you don't need to worry. Of course, we should be trying to get the money, but it means that you're not relying only on the money. And I'm convinced that you can get people elected with pure weight of numbers, because it's a populist message that people are turned on to. And if you join up the dots, you don't like the housing crisis, or your kids are all living at home, or you've been waiting for an operation for 2 years, mass immigration. Oh, nobody's actually made that connection for me before. Okay, right. Okay, what's the name of your party again? Okay, right. You might not get the number 1, but you get a number 2 or number 3.
It's important. I'm not saying it's not important, but again, do you wait until general election to send those canvassers out? No. You use Facebook. You utilize other social media available to you. For that, you use funds. You need funds for advertising. So in those 5 years, before the election takes place, you hammer home that message, so people already know. So when you call to that door, they say, "Oh, you're from the Irish Freedom Party. I know you. I'll be voting for you. Thumbs up." You might not get the first, but you'll get the second.
Yeah. Okay. So this is if there's like a long lead into the election, like what may be the case now, it might be the longest of lead-ins, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no point trying to build teams because they probably half of them will be dead or emigrated by the time 5 years comes around, right?
Yeah.
Or starved to death, or died of
Well,
COVID.
Well, you can get them out. You can get them out doing other things.
You can get other things. They need the paper. They need the stuff to be handed out. Of course, the leaflets to be handed out. And that needs money. Okay, yeah, point taken. I suppose I'm still stuck in the eve of the election and nobody's fucking doing anything, and I'm having kittens freaking out trying to get people to wake up and smell the coffee. There was just so much cluelessness ahead of that election. Anyway, that's water under the bridge.
There's an important question here. Someone's asked: Is the Catholic faith important for Irish nationalism to succeed? I think there's a segment of the population out there that are Catholic and genuine Catholics, and they don't have a home. And whoever is able to draw them in first will be onto a winner. I just know from my experience in politics that people that are religious are far more likely not only to donate, but just get out there in the streets. They have that conviction.
Mm-hmm. It's like a fearlessness. It's like I've come back to the church myself lately, and it amused me to say it. It actually gives you that, gives you the courage to go and do something that you might get shouted at or worse, or there's a faith you have that the Lord will look after you, or you say your prayers before you go out the road, and it gives you an insulation that I didn't have when I was more when I went through my agnostic period there. Sorry, going back to not personal experience side of things.
Yeah, but I remember Justin saying we're a secular party, but we don't advocate for a secular Ireland. I know what he was trying to say.
It's not a contradiction.
Yeah, because a secular society is a nihilistic society. It's a society that has no meaning. It has no end goal. It has no soul. We simply live for living's sake, for consumerism, for hedonism.
Live for the day, or live for your life, and your life is like filled with like nice sensations. And
there's nothing beyond it. We're just flesh and time.
Mm-hmm. There's something religious. Religious people think about their ancestors because they think they might be reunited with them in some way again at some point in the future, and they also think about the progeny, the people, because they also think that you might be reunited with them, some reconnected with them in some sort of afterlife in heaven. Or I'm talking about religion generously. So religious people think in longer terms.
Yeah, of course.
Beyond the terms of a lifetime, of their own lifetime, So, and you think there might be some way that you will have a sense of what's happening in the future. That there might be some aspect of you that's able to pick up in a traditional Catholic way, looking down from heaven to see what's happening in 100 years' time. So we are far more interested in the previous generations and the future generations. The religious people, Christians. Maybe that's one of the.
No, I absolutely agree. We're in agreement here. But not only that, but the church and faith in general is demonized. People always say, talk about the bad 50s or the bad 60s when the church had a monopoly, and look how poor we were. They're conflating the material conditions with sort of social ethos of the time. That's Marxianism. That's Marxism. Or Hegelianism. That's Hegelianism.
They were conflating
the material conditions, the poverty, with the sort of social attitudes of the time.
This is people saying like, the church is all about the bad old days.
Of course,
yeah.
So that's not necessarily true. There's plenty of examples around the world of religious countries or religious communities that are very well off. Look at the Mormons. Look at the Mormons in the United States. One of the most religious denominations in the country. They effectively run not the banking system, but they certainly have a lot of people within the banking system. The government administrations. They're one of the wealthiest ethnic groups, if you want to call them an ethnic group. They're one of the wealthiest groups within the United States. But people tend to correlate religion with poverty. There is truth in it. There is some truth in it, but it's skewed.
What really should be looked at is not poverty or not material well-being, but contentment and happiness, because that's what really matters. So, would you rather be rich and unhappy, or would you rather be like 6 on the contentment and like have like millions in the bank, or would you rather be 9 on the happiness and contentment level rating and be on subsistence wages? I'll take the 9 or 10 on subsistence wages anytime.
Of course.
School of thought that says sometimes it's easier to get that. It's easier to get to the 9 or 10 on.
Nobody was starving to death in the 1950s or the 1960s. Everybody had shoes on their feet. Everybody had food in their belly. Everybody was getting an education.
When did Frank McCourt's novels or autobiographical books, were they set in the 30s, 20s and 30s?
Frank McCourt's novels were based in the 30s, but Richard Harris, who lived near that area, who knew Frank McCourt growing up, says that he had totally fabricated. Limerick was never as bad.
Is that the guy who jumped up in the Late Late Show once and started attacking him verbally from the crowd?
No. Richard Harris is the actor. Yes.
Richard Harris. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Gladiator. He was Marcus Aurelius in Gladiator. He lived and he knew Frank McCourt. He lived near Frank McCourt, and he said the conditions in Limerick were never as bad as. And Frank McCourt did get some hassle over what he had said and his portrayal of Limerick at the time.
I saw I just happened across on YouTube a bit of footage from about 10 or 15 years ago where this guy in the audience,
I've seen it,
in the big yellow shirt, it stands out because nobody would wear a yellow shirt like that these days, but just jumped up and gave it to him from the audience. Of course, like the Gay Byrne just like rounded on him, and just closed ranks with the fellow personality.
Yeah, I remembered. I only watched it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually.
Right.
Was it? Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. But just what I'm saying. I mean, there is a correlation between poverty and the amount of children a woman will bear, but that's an obvious correlation because money's a bit tighter. But I mean, if you're happy, then what's the issue? If you've that should be your wealth there, and that's not how much money or how much zeros is in your bank balance.
Was I when I did my traveling to Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru? That's what I saw, that the people were poor there, but they had 2 things that we are starting to lose in Ireland, which is like family ties and good extended family ties and big families and family love and family solidarity, and the faith. Catholic faith.
Yeah,
but that was my biggest.
But the 2 are intertwined, I think.
Yeah, moment or to get me over to this side, to out of dematerialization and the importance. Wow, I was like, wow, these people are inspiring. Friends, girlfriends, my girlfriend's family, and one girlfriend in particular, her family was just great people. A lot of them very little material goods and what. It was they had enough. They weren't starving on the streets or anything like that. They were like lower middle class people. They had to work hard. There was very little welfare state if they let up for a second. But they loved their kids. The kids were great people, really friendly. And this wasn't just a one-off one family. This was across the board, and looked after each other and were polite. Colombians are really, really good people, really fantastic people. And this is stay in Colombia.
Yeah.
Apart from my one, who should be allowed to move to Ireland to marry me, but the fuckers won't let. Yeah, the fuckers won't let her in. So I mean, this is like an immigration policy that doesn't work for Irish people. Why shouldn't she be let in and not the extended family of the fake refugee seekers? It just doesn't. It's not working for Irish people. The system. Anyway, I digress. So,
but I do think in time that will be a winning combination: Catholicism / Christianity and nationalism.
Mm-hmm. There were.
I think it's a winning ticket.
Yeah, so this
in the long run,
the importance of Catholicism. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen people saying, does the Irish nationalist movement need to be Catholic? Of course not, but it can embrace, but without being exclusionary, secular. It's a broad church, as it were. There's room for
the National Party had the right idea initially. It was in its policies, not pro-Catholic, but it's just said at the Derry meeting when I emceed that they would never put forward a policy proposal that went against the Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's recognition of the importance of Christianity in Ireland, especially Catholicism. But we have to bear in mind that it's not just Catholicism, because we've got a million Christians of a different denomination who are Irish people as well, and it's that's one for another day, because that's a long conversation to have. But okay.
We should have that conversation.
Come back on, man. You've been very popular. You've been very successful. Yeah. I wanted to address more pieces talking about education, and I'm hoping to get talking to more pieces themselves about education. She's brought it up on a couple of streams now, and I haven't had anybody who's been willing or able, or I've made time to talk about it. So, did you see her?
No, I didn't see that comment. No.
Okay, she mentioned. I think she's in education herself, and she was saying how important it is to start with the younger ones. I mean, I haven't got talking to her yet personally. We're in contact, but that's as far as I've got to find out. There's one there everything. Give us a little brains, and we'll build an army of nationalists. I wanted to see what element of education she wanted to talk about in particular, where it was a narrow element about the religion and sex education. I've got another contacted guy that I canvassed with in Dublin. Who's big into that. Where's more? I've been banging my head against the wall trying to get nationalists to talk about education. Any advice for me? Right, let's follow this thread down. So Salatium's asked, what about what the schools are teaching? More piece. Everything. Okay, so she's taking a generic view of it. Give us a little brains of will. True. Well, that's what our opposition are doing. I would advise private tutoring. I've got a feeling Salatium's a parent. Sola, are you a parent? I think I've picked that up on the way you've been mentioning things. So maybe you've got some impact. Send me an email as well, Sola, at some point. Maybe we could do a chat about education. And Tara Nedool, the girl who got 2% for the Irish Freedom Party, she's a teacher, a Gaeilgeoir. She's big into education. That's one of the things that drives her, that's driving her forward to seek representation, is to impact the educational system. Okay, so I'll see in a minute. I want to see what the historical review says. Where the NP want the British to run an Irish nationalist party. Yeah, but this is old-fashioned thinking. Historical review. This is
who's the British? Who's the MP? The National Party want.
They're talking about Dyson, I suppose. Well, he's mixed up because it's not the MP that are involved with Dyson. It's not Alice involved with Dyson. So try rework your question, because that question doesn't make sense. There's the response. There's a response. Look, they're Irish people as well. Just
misguided Irishmen.
It's not like 1972. Misguided Irishmen. Let me see if there's more about that. Okay, right. I'm getting a bit tired. What about you? How you doing yourself? More for you?
Oh yeah, probably need it.
So talking on your flying.
Probably need to get something to eat soon.
Let's look. We've done 3 hours and 13 minutes, and that's my record longest stream, and I think I've got the record number of people on the stream as well. So Murph, you're you're good for me. Definitely come back. The door is open. Come back for sure.
How many viewers now?
There's 20 at the moment, and at the peak there we had 20 or 20, 22 or 23, and I think that the peak it had before was 17. I'm all about the numbers. If you're in politics or whatever, looking for votes, it's all about the numbers at the end of the day. Don't forget to give us a like there, lads, if you haven't done already, and more importantly, sub and press the wee bell button to be informed of future broadcasts. And more, thanks a million, man. It was you just came on. We happened to be chatting, and you agreed to come on short notice, and I've learned a lot talking to you. It's helped me open up and develop some of my ideas as well. And you have a lot more broadcasting experience than I have. So it's another 3 hours.
I wouldn't call Smick FM broadcasting experience.
The secret is the whiskey and the pizza. That's where I'm going wrong. That's where I'm going wrong, you see. So next time, well, it'll have to be vodka and that, and then people will think it's water. So good man, yeah. Go to meet my agat, in the chat, and we'll see each other again soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Jake Al, for doing the bunch of job. Thanks as always, and thanks to all the regulars, and welcome to the new people. And Arabu.
Okay. Ihawai.
Ihawai.